victory from just 5 starts so far this season, overcoming some nervy moments in the closing stages to beat GR Reari's teammate Kariro Van Pera.
And it's time to celebrate!
The issue this morning was the tailgate, and this afternoon the biggest issue was the fesh and overheating the engine, and that was very close to be game over for us. So close to the end, it was like again big fight to make it through, and yeah, I'm glad we made it, and I think we deserved that one.
Yeah, it was a really difficult afternoon loop, especially the middle one was really rutted, a lot of fesh, so definitely a proper safari style stage. All our cars were full of sand and stuff, so overheating issues and no power and stuff, so really difficult loop.
Alfie Evans rounded off the podium while Takamoto Kasuta completed the Toyota clean sweep in 4th overall.
Bernard Okumu reporting there. Now, Giants Gor Mahia have reclaimed the FKF Premier League title after coming from a goal down to beat Nairobi City Stars 4-1 at the Kasarani Stadium in the final game of the 2022-23 season. Tusker FC, who were the other title contenders, thrashed Vihiga Bullets 4-0, but it was all in vain as Gor Mahia ended the season 1 point above the Brewers.
Gor Mahia are the new champions of Kenya's top flight football. Gor Mahia, who came into the match 1 point above title contenders Tusker FC, had come from a goal down to beat City Stars 4-1 and claim the title they had lost to Tusker last season. After a goalless first half, Samuel Kapeng silenced the Kasarani crowd when he put City Stars in the lead in the 49th minute. But the Royals were up again 3 minutes later when Benson Omalo leveled for Kogalo. Peter Luasa added to the singing crowd at Kasarani by putting goal in front with a second goal. Then the results were put beyond doubts by Austin Odhiambo and Alpha Onyango, who netted 2 more goals to seal the title for Kogalo in front of an amazing crowd led by Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communication, Technology and the Digital Economy, Eliud Owalo. And while Gor was celebrating the title, Tusker had no celebration to do despite thrashing Vihiga Bullets 4-0 as they had to contend with the second position. Kakamega Homeboys drew 1-1 with Bidco. AFC Leopards defeated Kariobangi Sharks 1-0. Kenya Police and KCB played to a 2-2 draw. Pusta Rangers lost 2-1 to Bandari. Sofapaka and Zoia ended the season on a goalless draw. Ulinzi Stars defeated Talanta 2-0, while Wazito lost 1-0 to Mathare United.
That story by Sela Onyango brings us to the end of the news this morning. We'll have more updates for you during the day. Do tune in. I want to pave way now for Victor Olo, who will be taking you through Eye on Politics to discuss the current issues that are and as far as politics is concerned. So thank you so much. I hope to see you again next week.
Show that keeps you updated on everything you need to know about technology.
Digital resilience is about organizations being able to continue to operate despite negative impacts that they've experienced.
The subject digital transformation, we keep talking about it, but very many people fail to understand that.
Twitter's removal of blue ticks is forcing accounts to find new ways to prove authenticity as concerns over copycats mount. At the same time, Elon Musk has given blue ticks to a few celebrities who didn't ask for one, such as writer Stephen King and Larry Madowo, for free.
Take on Tech every Monday at 10:30 p.m. on KBC Channel 1. Stay tuned.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened live. We let you know what you missed, even if you were present.
And our goal is to continue supporting our own.
From the latest celebrity buzz,
fashion,
music,
and all manner of youth talents,
the Grapevine cameras rove all week to bring you the latest in the enormous entertainment scene.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m. and the rerun on Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1, baby.
Engage us on Facebook and Twitter, #Grapevine on KBC. Let us know what is happening in your area code, because you know what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine,
then it most probably never happened. Bah!
Ain't nobody gotta tell you what you gotta do.
All right, welcome back. It's now 3 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Kenya. The next topic the next segment is now Iron Politics, but before then, you know how we do it. Let me give you a quick update on our traffic. It was a smooth flow over the weekend for a majority of Kenyans, but it was not good news for most Kenyans who are using the Western Circuit, either heading towards Naivasha, Nakuru, Eldoret, or that direction, because of traffic that was experienced during the Safari Rally event in Naivasha. But how is the traffic situation in Nairobi? Let me start with the capital city. All right, as you can see from, let me start with the Murang'a Road today. Those people who are using Murang'a Road, you are going to have some kind of a good drive toward the city center, but your problem starts from the DCI headquarters. All right, DCI headquarters, there is always a problem, and it will take some time or a little bit of reorganization to make sure that this road is well taken care of. Either an expansion is needed or otherwise, because the traffic starts exactly just before, just right after the DCI headquarters moving. Past the DCI headquarters there, it passes coming down to Muthaiga interchange. And because of that interchange, it moves towards Pangani. It affects Thika Road as well, because a majority of Kenyans who are coming from Kiambu, coming to Nairobi, joining that interchange into the CBD, also come and join their colleagues coming from Thika Road. And the traffic on Thika Road is even worse, going past KCA University all the way to De La Rue, almost approaching Outer Ring Road. That is Allsops. So Nairobi bound, those who are coming into the CBD, it's going to be a nightmare, both the highway and the service lane. But you see, the problem is, a majority of Kenyans, service lane is not supposed to be used for express drive. But you find most people opt for the service lane, and when they come somewhere at around KCA University, there is always an underpass, then they join the highway. Definitely there'll be a traffic snarl up at that particular point. So traffic situation along Thika Highway comes right until up to Kenya Hoteli Hotel, past it, comes straight into Muthaiga Square there. It passes until you join, almost approaching, Pangani. That's when it starts to loosen. So if you're coming into the CBD, Thika Road, tafadhali, you'll have to be very patient. Juja Road is okay. Coming into the CBD, looking very good. But then, if you're also coming from Thika Road, Today is a little bit because of that effect on Thika Road and Kiambu Road joining there. Globe Roundabout looking pretty well today. That is as far as this is concerned. Okay, how is Wayaki Way looking like? Okay, all green. So which means if you are joining the city center from Kabete Polytechnic, Udhiru, Kabete, down to Mountain View, coming to Westlands Roundabout, and finally into the CBD, it's a smooth drive, ultimately joining your if you are joining any part of the city, you are good to go. All right, and finally, Ngong Road, how does it look like? If you're coming from Ngong, it's moving very well. It's moving very well until you come up to the Nakumat Junction. It's a bit of snarl up because of the traffic light there, but moving from there, you know, a bit of snarl up again because of the traffic situations, joining, either coming to Valley Arcade, Adams Arcade, joining the Ngong Road, but basically Ngong Road moving okay. Down into Valley Road, Panafric, Kenyatta Avenue, and ultimately into the CBD. Later on, I'll give you what the traffic looks like when you're joining I'm told Mombasa Road, Langata Road, actually Langata. If you're coming from Langata Road, Rongai, those sides of Kiserian, you're going to have a good drive into the CBD. It's moving all the way from Langata Barracks, coming down to Uhuru Gardens there, coming down to Wilson Airport, Langata Road, moving well into CBD, to Nyayo National Stadium, and until you get into the Nairobi Central Business District. That is as far as this is concerned. Let me take you to the traffic situation in Kisumu. Kisumu, again, looking very okay. Very okay. So, people from Kisumu, you are all good to go. Moving from Megacity, Molem, Nyamasaria, all the way joining the city center, that is Kisumu, looking okay. As I always say, that's Lake Victoria. See how beautiful it is. Let me just zoom out a bit. See how beautiful it looks. Zoom in. Yeah, that's how it looks like. Get some time and tour Kisumu. Visit there. It's always amazing. All right, so Kisumu people, you are good to go. And finally, how about those people in Mombasa? What Mombasa? Habari za asubuhi. Okay, how does it look like? If you're joining the city center from Changamwe, coming into Makupa Causeway, again, you're going to have a good drive into the CBD. Okay, this is the part of the Indian Ocean, the blue patch here, the Makupa Causeway. This was done sometimes last year, and the extension was meant to make it join the other parts of Tanzania, which is going to be joining, instead of coming all these other sides of Voi and, you know, to go to TZ, it's going to go to the other side of Tanzania. So Makupa Causeway coming to the CBD, iko sawa. Watu Mombasa, find your way into the CBD na tujenge taifa. That is as far as that is concerned. Watu Kongowea, Hala Park, coming from those sides of Pirate Beach, bado iko sawa, Jomo Kenyatta or Pirates Beach, okay? Iko sawa, Nyali Bridge, moving vizuri, pole pole, ikikuja until you get to Kongowea Market. There's always a traffic light around this here. Mariakani Market and then Kongowea. There's always a bit of some snarl because of the traffic to Kongowea Market, and then that's it. And from there, joining the bridge into the CBD, kila kitu iko sawa. So that is as far as traffic is concerned. All right, so I have got Churchill Saoke, who is an analyst, joining me in studio. I'll be joined by the analyst here later on. Good morning, Churchill.
Good morning, Winter.
A child only educated at home is not educated. That is a Ghanaian proverb. What do you make of that?
You know, education exposes you to knowledge.
Yes.
And the knowledge that you'll get from home is limited. Mm-hmm. You might get wisdom, but the knowledge that drives humanity and drives development, you'll get in a more formalized setting, like in an education setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
So education at home is not enough?
It's not enough.
All right. Okay.
You'll not be able to get equipment that will make you to understand matter. You know, you will be able to understand the universe more in a simulated setup that you'll only find in school.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well. That is your interpretation about it. Okay. Let me take you through the front page of the Star newspaper. 3 fresh hurdles against Ruto's tax plan. 3 fresh hurdles against Ruto's tax plan. LSK and unions to file new court cases against Bill as Azimio stages rally in Nairobi. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper. 3 fresh hurdles against Ruto's tax plan. The story is completely detailed there for you on page 4 and 5. You can take a look at that. On the front page again, it was all sporty weekend of rally and football champions. We had Sebastian Ogier, a French national, taking the lead yesterday and winning the WRC in Naivasha, and Kogalo winning the 20th league, FKF Premier League, beating Tusker by just 1 point. That was happening yesterday at the Kasarani Stadium. It was a sporty weekend, so to speak. Shabab beheads 5 during attack on Lamu villages. The story has it that at least 5 men were beheaded and many houses torched in an Al-Shabaab attack in Salama and Juhud villages in Nkumboni, that is in Lamu County. And of course, according to reports and eyewitnesses, the attackers were dressed in military regalia before they struck terror on the residents. D-Day for Oduola as senators decide on his impeachment. The ad hoc committee of the Senate actually had their committee their sitting last week, and they are going to present their report today before the floor of the House. There's going to be a special sitting, so it's going to be a do or die for the Siaya deputy governor, either to hold on to his lucrative job or lose it once and for all. But I'll be discussing that later on, the war between governors and the deputies and how this can be resolved. Okay, doctors want law to allow dying to donate organs. So, according to medical experts at the MTRH, that is Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, they want Parliament to make a law that will provide a legal framework on how Kenyans can donate body organs before death. The medics argue that many people die with the healthy organs that can help those still living through replacement. But Churchill, this could subject us into a lot of legal hurdles for us to get such kind of amendments and such kind of law to be effected. Absolutely. The biggest challenge, I think, would be the question of it being misused, because you see, the causes of death, people might want to kill others to get some of those organs. So like you remember during the times, I think in the early years, in the 90s, when blood transfusion had not been formalized and established, well institutionalized by government, yes, there were people who were actually trading on blood, and they could get people, hijack people in the bushes and drain blood from them so that they go sell. So that will be the likely implication of that kind of thing. But when you look at it, of course, positively, there are those who might be dying, but then the organs are still usable. There are some parts of the human body that they do not die immediately. A person dies, and that is scientifically and empirically has been proved. So positively it can be used, but then again, if there are no proper legal regimes and people also do not see humanity in its need, yes, it may be misused. Okay. All right. So that's first concerned, but as you correctly put, it's going to bring a lot of legal backgrounds on as far as this is concerned. But we'll discuss this, the 3 fresh hurdles against Ruto's tax plan. We'll get into that later on as far as the tax is concerned. On the front page of the Daily Nation, return of terror. Return of terror. Resurgence of Somali terrorist group worrying as frequency of attacks increases. That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. We have got some statistics here. In Mandera County, between June 3rd and 20th, a spate of Al-Shabaab attacks rocked Mandera County. Wajir County also had that on June 13th, in Garissa County on June 12th, and in Lamu, June 18th. So it's a return of terror, and now this calls for the government to be on the lookout and have more intelligence on the ground to arrest this situation. It's a wrap. Ogier Savers brilliant WRC Safari Rally win as Toyota claim bragging rights. That happened yesterday in Naivasha. Now, Nakumincha vows to take on cartels as she seeks to clean up NHIF and KEMSA. That is the Health CS, Susan Nakumincha, saying that she will take on cartels as she seeks to clean up NHIF and KEMSA. Kenyan teenagers poor at problem solving, according to a study. A third of young people in Kenya struggle to identify simple problems as possible solutions, according to a report launched last week by Regional Education Learning Initiative, raising questions on how they are being equipped with the essential life skills. Now, this takes me back to my quote from Ghana, that a child only educated at home is not educated. Kenyan teenagers poor at problem solving, according to a study.
I think it's an issue. It's important for us to separate skills and knowledge. Skills is a product of knowledge. Yes. You get to know, knowledge helps you to know how things work, what really makes things the way they are. But then out of it, you draw the skills that you can be able to, you can make you to make meaning of the knowledge. So there are certain skills that you can be able to attain at home. Like, for example, depending on the kind of parenthood you have, there are skills of communication that you can attain from home. There are motor skills that you can attain from home. But then the knowledge behind those skills, like, for example, how a motor vehicle works. I can be able to make a motor vehicle, but really you do not know the mechanism behind that motor vehicle. So there's the theory behind some of this knowledge that you cannot attain at home, but the skills that you can attain at home. The life skills, the soft skills, you can get them at home. The motor skills, those hard skills, some of them you can get them from home based on the nurturing that you have. But the knowledge that then gives you reinforcement of those skills, it is likely that you cannot get them.
Absolutely. Okay. Still on the front page of the Daily Nation here. Odwor's moment of truth in House vote showdown, intense behind the scenes. Lobbying has characterized the impeachment hearing of besieged Siaya Deputy Governor William Oduor, whose fate now rests with the 47 elected senators. Is he going to survive the impeachment, or is going to retain his lucrative job? That is as far as this is concerned. Actually, that story of Kenyan teenagers who are not in a position to solve problems is a study and fleshed out there for you on page 2. You can take a look at that. Education and matters a lot. Mount Kenya elders tell Ruto to tame his officials' tongues. That's on the page 4. Mount Kenya elders tell Ruto to tame his officials' tongues. Former administrator says that government officials must always speak with decorum. That is according to Kikuyu Council of Elders Chairman Wachira Kiago, who said that some leaders must come and have some decorum with them. That is that. Okay, so the story of return of terror, at least 20 people killed in less than 1 month. The question is, where is the intelligence and how is the government going to affect this and actually arrest the situation? Are the terrorists outsmarting the government? Most of those killed in attacks within the month have been security personnel, including soldiers. Just last week, a number of soldiers were killed when they were responding to an attack in Lamu when their vehicle ran over an IED. A couple of them died, and so that's it. So does it mean that police is left at the mercy of militants? According to residents, that is as far as that's concerned. Okay, very quickly on to the front page of the Standard. Schools defy ministry. Schools defy ministry. The numerous orders from Ministry of Education leadership are being ignored by heads of schools for what they term as impractical policy directions and lack of adequate funding from the government. Experts say that the ministry appears powerless as only Teachers Service Commission holds sway. That is on the front page of the Standard. Schools defy ministry. It's been a big problem for a very long time, Churchill, between the schools and the ministry. That happened even during Magoha's time and even some other, administrations. But what is really ailing schools and ministries? Is it lack of capitation? Is it lack of money generally, or schools are not getting the requisite resources to run the institutions?
You got it right. It's almost like a three-pronged issue. The first is you find that, there are capitation that the government should be taking to the schools, which sometimes is delaying.
Yes.
And ordinarily you will expect that the schools are also expected to offset certain running costs and operational costs. How do they get this money? They will then go into other ways of generating some of this income, and some of which have impact in the parents having to pay. And the education ministry will never want parents to pay an additional fee because it has a political implication. So then you realize that there are certain policy objectives that the ministry expects the schools to adhere to, but then because of the practicalities of the availability of resources, one, and two, the enforcement criteria. It's one thing to speak and to give a directive on a policy direction, is another thing to ensure that it's enforced. So the schools know very well that the enforceability of some of these directives and policies are not effective. So they take advantage of those gaps. For example, let me give you an example. When the ministry says that the school uniform should not be sold by schools.
Yes.
Parents can get the school uniforms elsewhere. I mean, that's a good, emotionally it's a very good thing.
Bit of it,
but the implementation is, the gap is there.
Yes.
How will you ascertain that the parents will not be getting the school uniforms from schools? When you are taking your child to the school, it is between you, the parent, and the teachers. The teacher will tell you that this uniform you have brought is not for the school, and if you don't want to get the one that I'm telling you, take your child wherever you want. So you realize that the enforcement of these directives, there is a big gap. So even TSC, the reason why TSC sort of has got a little bit of enforcement powers is because they have powers over the salaries of the teachers. And by that so being, the disciplinary mechanism and the way in which the human resource, the way they handle the human resource, teachers are likely to follow directives because that is where their salaries come from.
Absolutely. And a majority of, because the government would actually act on the basis of the government, and because a majority of directions come from the government, but now the real implementation, because teachers will not have a direct kind of supervision deep down in Lagdera, somewhere in Lamu, whatever it is. So schools will always have that kind of problem, and when the capitation is not taken care of, then we'll always have this kind of problem. All right. Is Ruto African diplomat or playing to the gallery? That is on the front page of the Standard. Is Ruto African diplomat or playing to the gallery? Of late, we've seen President William Ruto attending several fora of different heads of state and stakeholders, and the way he's always appeared is what is being captured here on the Standard. African diplomat or playing to the gallery? What is the danger of having the two, playing as a diplomat or playing to the gallery?
As the President of the Republic of Kenya, he has the role of being the top diplomat. And he would like to portray, and being a top diplomat helps him to portray the image of the country positively, and it also helps him to entrench the legitimacy of his government, so that it's recognized by people around, in as much as there are certain political turmoil locally, but globally people recognize the legitimacy of his regime. So it helps him to portray his image. Remember also, he came into power not really having a big international clout. So this is a moment that he's using to build that global clout, that he can endear himself into the international community. And one of the ways that ordinarily most of the presidents have always done this is by coming out to represent some big idea. And at the African level, Pan-Africanism is a big issue that will always make the whole continent to look at you as their leader. So he is coming out as a Pan-Africanist, a person who is driving the Pan-African agenda that is, you know, what really Gaddafi stood for.
Yes.
So that is an idea that would make the continent to really see you as you know, have a positive image of you and also repackage your country positively. So that is exactly what he's trying to do.
How will this resonate with the big boys, you know, the West? Because at the end of the day, we'll speak, yes, but we'll have to go back and say, you know what, gentlemen, this is how it is. You know, we have the big boys out there watching at us.
You know, it all depends on how he plays it, because it's also politics. And as much as it's diplomatic, it's also politics. You can drive an agenda that is against the big boys verbally, but implementation-wise, you don't really mean
they
it.
Still have that pen to signatures. Exactly. Yeah.
So you publicly you drive an agenda that is against them, but privately you are for them. So you know, you tell them that, you know what, don't worry about what I say.
Yeah.
Mind about what we do. All right.
Okay.
So in the long run, you're not going to fight the big boys, but then. So that will work for him positively. But when what you are saying, like for example, you're talking about the dollarization and you act onto it, so the big boys are seeing what you are saying and you are acting as to what you are saying, then you are going to be their enemies.
Okay. I'm quite interested in this one because 9 months into office, what would you bring as a skeleton of his foreign policy? President Uhuru Kenyatta had his foreign policy, you know, he's had his ambassadors and, you know, his consulates across the world, President Mwai Kibaki, etc., etc. What would you buy as President Ruto's foreign policy?
You know, for a long time, Kenya's foreign policy, and which has really influenced the foreign policy of the previous regimes, has always been built on peace and security.
Exactly. Kenya
being the epicenter of peace and security regionally, globally, and all that. But then, when you look at post Uhuru, when Ruto came in, you remember he was nominated to become the peace, the peace envoy in Sudan. And in Sudan, and the Sudanese, the warring factions really did not agree on him. So, but then when you look at what he has been trying to build, he's been trying to build his foreign policy around economics, right? You know, through just ensuring that he builds a global clout around his bottom-up economic model by having different companies, different countries endearing into his economic model. So that is so far what I really see him being really focused on. The questions around, maybe because of our history of peace, it is likely to emerge in the coming years, but is now what I see him more building more, even when you look at his diplomatic visits and all the regional conferences and conferences that have been held, they're more around the economics. So that is what I see. We are likely to see more as time goes by, because, you know, you are now seeing the issues of climate change. That is, you know, the Kenya is going to hold a very big climate change conference in September. We are likely to see how these things are going to emerge, so that we clearly define his economic model. At this stage, I only see economics.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. And it's also interesting to see how it's going to be at the end of 5 years before we go for another election, how his foreign policies stand and how Kenya stands to gain. All other countries also will have to gain as far as this is concerned. But you've correctly put it, Kenya's foreign policy in all the subsequent regimes is because of peace and reconciliation and stability. When you look at what's happening in South Sudan, when they have issues, a majority of things and negotiations are done here in Nairobi or in Naivasha.
Exactly.
So that is very commendable. All right, on the front page of the People Daily, finally, Raila to renew fight with Ruto. Raila to renew fight with Ruto. Azimio leaders set to hit the streets, hold public barazas and trigger court action in a three-pronged onslaught on Kenya Kwanza. That is on page 4. According to State, we don't owe counties a cent. According to the State. All right, so there's a story here. the 250 million shillings city bus park to be flattened. Okay? According to Governor Sakaja, he says that plan to use facility as heavy vehicle holding ground has failed. This was done during the last regime with the NMS, and now there are reports that it's going to be flattened. Okay, we take a break. We'll be right back. I see Wakili Gibson Gesori already in studio, just settling. We'll be getting into that shortly when we come back after this break. Stay with us.
Perhaps there's a witness. Yes, there's probably a witness who saw everything that happened.
Makes me think that there must have been some kind of a relationship between Olegario and my mother aside from her work in the house.
Well, I don't care.
Is he my son?
Las Bandidas. Sasa unaweza kupokea stesheni ya KBC Eastern Service kwa njia iliyomurwa baada ya KBC kuboresha na kuwekeza mitambo mipya ya kisasa ya kupeperusha matangazo. Pata matangazo kwa lugha ya Burji kila siku kuanzia saa 11 asubuhi hadi saa 4 asubuhi. Rendile Service itakuwa hewani kuanzia saa 4 asubuhi hadi saa 9 jioni. Kisha matangazo kupitia lugha ya Kiborana itachukua usukani kuanzia saa 9 hadi saa 2 usiku. Kutufungia jamvi ni Turukana Service watakaopeperusha matangazo yao kuanzia saa 2 usiku hadi saa 6 usiku. KBC Eastern Service inapatikana Lodwar na maeneo yaliyo karibu kupitia 98.3 FM. Na kwa wasikilizaji wa Burji, Rendile na Borana waliomo Marsabit na maeneo jirani, KBC Eastern Service inapatikana kwa mita bendi 98.7 FM.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into our discussion today. And gentlemen, Wakili Gibson, welcome to the program.
Thank you so
I started with Churchill with a quote from Ghana. A child only educated at home is not educated. What do you make of that proverb?
I will tend to agree with the saying because the world is becoming a global village. So if you are taught by your own village, the thinking is only that village because education takes a community. So if that community is engaging in backward things, then you can only be as good as the backward things which that community practices. But if you have a mix, you have a mix of different ideas, then you become shaped and sharpened by the world. You will be able to know which practices are practical and which ones are not, and which one are redundant, so that you can be able to be of help to society. That's why we go to school, and we advise that don't just school if you're born in Kisii, don't school in Kisii Primary, go to Kisii High School, then go to Kisii University.
And then you start doing business.
Start doing business in Kisii. So if you get to maybe go to your place and then come to Nairobi, then you get to have an amalgam of ideas which at the end of the day will help you, because you're going to live in a society which is bigger than your community.
Absolutely. All right. Churchill gave us his version of that. That reminds me of that a child who does not travel will only think that his mother is only the best cook.
Yes, yes. Yes.
And ugali is only
Exactly. That ugali is the only food available. Travel around, drink some mursik here and there, murenda here and there, then you'll appreciate the diversity we have across the world. Okay, so gentlemen, a lot happened over the week and over the weekend. And of course, I would suppose that we have so much that is going to happen this week. Let me start with what happened last week. We had a very long 2 weeks for the country. The budget happened. So I want us to go step by step and do the post-budget analysis. What really happened? What stood out for you? And on this note, let me start with you, Wakili, now that you are on the floor. What really stood out for you on that? Did Kenyans win? Did Kenya Kwanza win? Did Azimio win? Who won? And who lost?
It's yes and no for me. From where I sit, yes, Kenya won eventually because we have a budget which has been passed, and now the issue is how it's good. When the money is raised, how is it going to be spent? Because at the end of the day, we have counties which have not been paid. We have a lot of things, NHIF issues, because that is really touching Kenyans. With this budget coming to pass, then we expect this money to be expended because there could not be any spending without the budget being passed. So that is the only part I can see Kenyans won.
Yeah.
As to the tug of war between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, I think there were some trade-offs which from where I sit there, I could be able to characterize them as good and bad because there are some things we expected not to pass. But they eventually passed. But I think I could see that this budget is the most debated, the most negotiated, and the most transparent one. We hope the same process goes through the expenditures because really passing the budget is the shorter arm of the stick. The bigger arm of the stick is really how does this money get expended? That we don't those people, those departments or ministries which have been entrusted with Kenyan funds, let's hope that they will be able to use them wisely, judiciously, to be able to help Kenyans at the end of the day, because that's really the bottom line for Kenyans. That is when they will win again. As to the collection of these monies, I think that's where the big challenge is. I think we have a wrong road of feeling the pain as Kenyans, but then nothing, even if when you have a boil, it disturbs you inside. But then for you to get rid of it and get well, you really have to go through some serious pain, more than the one you are feeling, to be able to start getting well. Let's hope that is what is going to happen.
All right.
And that is only if the leadership wants it to be.
Okay, Churchill.
Well, I think that the debate was intensive on the budget, and one thing that comes out and stood for me, of course, is it's very easy to divert attention of the public on the details of a budget by ensuring that the public focuses on one specific thing. So I think that the big part for the regime would be on implementation of this budget. Of course, there is a lot of things that is on the on the public that are not necessarily what happened on the floor. Like for example, the trade-offs that are being spoken about. Many people do not know about them, especially those who are outside. From outside, people see this as more like a Kenya Kwanza thing, and the other opposition parties were not part of it, and and that is not necessarily the case. So I think the key thing, and I think what maybe now the current regime really has to work on is implementing some of those things to ensure that they have the interest of the people at heart, because people are getting into, because of the discussions that were around this budget, people are getting into the next financial year with a lot of fears, you know, possibilities of increase of the cost of living and things like that. You know, the impact of the budget has been caused by the discourse around it. So the challenge to the government is how they are going to implement it to an extent that they do not play into what that public discourse caused. So that, you know, there is stability, there is people can invest, people do not fear, you know, using their money. Otherwise, it might have a negative effect.
Because I'm asking the question based on, you know, the ingenious ways Kenyans, you know, use to survive. Because once, you know, somebody will tell you, okay, fine, let them pass the bill, but you know, human beings will have this kind of ingenious way to survive and to get to the next level. What do you think? Is the government going to meet the target? A budget of, you know, almost 4 trillion, and it's going to be with a target of an annual collection into the coffers. But how is it going to be? Are Kenyans going to feel that they are going to be part and parcel of the tax collection? Are they going to play up to what the government suggests, or are they going to just reinvent a way to survive? And the question is, what if the government doesn't meet its target? Because KRA is now, everything is now for KRA to lose. Wakili.
Yes, carriers are a very big task in terms of fulfilling their mandate, because really now the task has been given
because
to
Parliament
them.
has done its part.
Yes, it has done its part. And I think I would want to say it's KRA plus the Ministry of Finance, because KRA collects and then Ministry of Finance allocates accordingly, and it should ensure compliance with its other arms like the Commission of Revenue Allocation and the government auditor who actually audits. So we need to see a very transparent process. If these arms do not stand on their feet, my biggest fear is us having scandals after collecting all this money which Kenyans have suffered for.
Get the priority.
Yes, and then you find that this money, as we start having issues like the Kimwareri issues, you know, it's very painful. It will be very painful, and they are big disappointment to Kenya. So it's an honest call to the president, really, to ensure that we have given him at least what he wanted. Let him do the best that he can with this money. And let him prove to us that actually he knows what he's doing. Because at the end of the day, if we end up having any scandal, I don't think Kenyans will forgive him for anything. And even the current crop of politicians, they stand to lose big, because Kenyans now have drawn their boundaries that we have the politicians, and then we have the executive who are a part of the executive, the extension of the executive in parliament, and then we are the Kenyans. We have allowed them to tax us, but let them use it wisely. I think that is a clarion call if it's not clear to them that they need to do that. The other thing is, as Kenyans, we are in a very interesting scenario with the debt. So we hope this money is going to be able to be expended wisely in terms of repayment of the debt, because there's also a huge, I think, 700 or 800 billion which is supposed to go to debt repayment. So we expect that to be the case. Jimmy Wanjigi came up with some interesting scenarios which I did want to believe they sounded like some movie action, but then when I was asking one of the politicians, he told me that that guy is not mad, that is actually the true position of where we are. So it's really a balance for the government and the executive to actually ensure that we don't get what Jimmy was trying to predict for Kenyans. We don't want doom. Nobody wants. That's why Kenyans, I think, have given the trade-offs to actually happen, to ensure that we have a win-win situation. At the end of the day.
Okay, Chacha.
And I think in addition to that is that, you know, when the monies are not well used, then it comes to the case that you're raising, where people will now find ways of circumventing even some of these tax measures. And in the long run, then then the government will not be able to raise some of those monies, you know. So I think the key question is, use the money well, let the money circulate, let the money be used for the intended purposes, and people see its value. Then when people see the value of the taxes they're giving, people, it will also bring positive political capital to the regime. Okay? To an extent that even in the next financial year, if you raise other additional taxes, people will not have problems because they're already seeing it. And I think it will serve the government positively if they're looking at also, you know, we can't put re-elections onto these things. You know? So if you are looking at the impact of these on the next elections, it can be positive or negative depending on how best they implement. Because people have expectations. You know, you say, for example, you're going to build houses, people will want to see those houses.
Yeah.
You know? You want to build maybe roads, people will want to see those roads. And there has to be also equity in the use of these resources.
Yeah.
I think there is something that had happened in this country, which as a progressive Kenyan, it will really be my hope that it still continues. In the evolution of our democracy, there has been the key thing of institutionalizing engagement of government and deassociating government operation from personalities. When, for example, we talk about allocation of resources, there are specific institutions that have been given the mandate by the Constitution to allocate these resources. And they need to be given that mandate to do their job and be deassociated from personalities. Because if we associate it with personalities, and you know, for example, it ends up, and this is something that maybe even the president should think through. If you personalize certain work of institutions, then the failures of those institutions will fall on you. Are you getting?
Yes.
If you're saying that you have given money to counties, when you have not given the money to counties, you will be held accountable for that. Yet that is not your work constitutionally. There is an institution that is supposed to do that. So that deassociation is one thing that also will be very important as we go through implementation of this budget. And it will also help in building the image of key personalities within government.
That's what, because the association is very important, because now you'll have different ministries, you know, overlapping their roles into different ministries, and that would actually bring conflict in the government. But let me look at it this way. Azimio claimed that they were going to push the budget to flow. But, you know, in a mature democracy, which Kenya actually praises to be fitting in, we've seen some advanced democracies like the UK, the US, when you have an opposition, they will have to come with an alternative. But in this scenario, we didn't see Azimio or the other side of the minority in the National Assembly coming with a list of their alternative to that budget estimate and the proposal. We didn't see that on the floor of the House. My question to you, gentlemen, was Azimio whitewashed on the floor of the House? Okay.
I wouldn't say whitewashed really, but I would want to say that they didn't have a plan. They really lacked a plan, and then I think in the circumstance there's very little they could have done, because much as you are in opposition, also you are sitting at a position where you are seeing the country from a clear spectacle. So much as you are required to be opposition and play the role of opposition, you're also trying to weigh in and say, and then what? Because I mean, this thing, we are in a tight situation. This tight situation, you have got to make a deliberate decision. So I think that's why I said I would want to congratulate the members of parliament, because they tried to give some trade-offs. Because some of the clauses which they were negotiating, they tried to negotiate, but then much of whatever proposals the Azimios were coming, because of the numbers, they were really, you can say they were washed because of the numbers. But you could see some individual members. I couldn't say that Azimio as a group, but there was some deliberate effort from some individual members who brought some counter stories to some specific clauses. You could see that somebody is well grounded on whatever it is that he was proposing, and really carried the heart and soul of the Kenyans, that, you know, you are going to hurt Kenyans if you indeed move this. But it was on very minor clauses. And then there was already, of course, you remember there was the threat from from the executive that, you know, if you're going to oppose this and you want CDF, we will be waiting for you there, you know, and that is the worst scare to a member of parliament that there can be.
But again, just
there should be individual consequences.
Legally speaking, it's not the mandate of the executive to disburse CDF to the constituencies. I mean, what's the cost and happen?
That's actually what you have said. But then you know the reality. Between you and me, you know the other reality, that you could be told we don't have the monies yet. We're going to disperse. You remember, even in the school, it's really the Ministry of Education, there is some interesting scenario which is happening, that some schools have received disbursement and others are complaining they have not received. So you don't want to be an MP and then you are told that your region hasn't really received the disbursement.
Churchill, was Azimio, did they play their oversight role, to counter the Kenya Kwanza government?
I think they were playing a two-pronged game, in the sense that they were in a position where they needed to have certain fears that Mheshimiwa is raising sorted internally. Play to the game of government privately and also play to the game of the public publicly. Because the public sees you as their defender of, the person who is defending against high cost of living and portraying this budget as a budget that is going to raise the cost of living for Kenyans, and so you are advocating against it. So that's what they were doing in public, and they needed to make people believe that is what they're doing even in Parliament. But that is not necessarily what they may have been doing privately in Parliament. So I think that they were playing a two-pronged game, so that at the end of the budget, it's a win-win for them. They win both by ensuring government sees them as people who did not necessarily fight against this bill, and also the public, they win by the public knowing that, you tried to fight for us to the extent to which you can, but you didn't have the numbers. So somehow for them, I think it was that two-pronged approach for them. And as is now, people still see them as people who fought and tried to fight, but they could not be able to do what? To win. But in real sense, that is not necessarily what they may have done.
Okay. I didn't want to put it exactly the way you put it, but I mean, they were basically talking from both sides of the mouth.
Because when you look at it, even some of the Azimio legislators voted for the bill. So where does this really leave Azimio? Because it means that Azimio didn't have strong numbers even to oppose, because you want to go full throttle, man to man in the National Assembly, but that didn't happen. A majority, some of them, voted for the bill, and here we are. Where does this leave Azimio, if not Raila Odinga as the head or as the chair or as the leader of Azimio generally? Wakili.
I think for Azimio, their work is cut out. I mean, as a coalition, they need to really sit and discuss whether this is the way they want to go. Because if all goes, or this parliament proceeds voting the way it's voting, then we wouldn't have anything called Azimio, at least in the public eye, because now it will be some mongrel of an amalgamation of politicians who can vote whatever side they want and they get away with it. I think they need to do a serious caucus, and do a serious reprimanding of the members who actually didn't cooperate. And then, I'm also thinking as a politician, you will want to know what kind of trade-offs will the Azimio people, because you want to discipline me. What are you giving me in exchange? That is also the other question, because if I vote with government, then there are some things I'm assured of which I can be able to either benefit personally or be able to give to my people and tell them this is what I've secured for you. Because it also goes to personal legacies as to how you're going to come back in 2027, or what it is that you can reclaim from what you lost in the campaigns. So it has to be a very tight balance that whatever Azimio coalition will sit and agree on, it has got to be watertight. Otherwise, they will be just doing it for a show. So we are likely to see more of this. Government is very vicious, government is very determined, government is very deliberate in terms of what it wants. I don't know what Azimio is. It's not coming out strongly. They don't have a clear agenda. They didn't have, the way we said that, they didn't have a clear plan on how to oppose this or come up with an alternative budget, which even the Kenya Kwanza people told us, you are opposing this. Why don't you come with your own budget, which we can look at?
Even that, Wakili, during the public participation, we can still count that was part of an alternative to the budget. But a majority of Kenyans, or even some of the entities who presented the memoranda to the committee, said that none of the memoranda was captured in the budget. So it means that even Azimio would have gone flat foot.
I've ever participated in those parliamentary process of public participation.
Yes.
They receive thousands, if not millions, of comments. Collecting them and is a joke. It's literally a joke. So the few who get the opportunity to go and present their petitions and to the committees are the ones who can be able to raise the issues, because through the professional groups and the caucus groups, they can be able to say that we gave our petitions, but they were not looked into. But then there is the aspect of these are random moving things.
Yeah.
But there's already a budget which is collected and which is clear, which is self-explanatory. For you to crystallize this into a very clear-cut thing, it becomes a very big challenge, and Parliament, that is not its role. So we needed the opposition to take some of these views, especially from the caucuses, which are very specific, and then even reduce it into something clear, which they can give us a counter story, because that is the part of representation. But if they fail on that, then they fail management, because everybody else did their bit. I think it's the Azimio coalition which didn't do their bit.
All right. Somebody can assume that Azimio didn't imagine that we're not going to make government, because the whole process of making a budget takes almost close to a year or something, because you have to do comparisons between states and jurisdictions and see, the variances before coming with a final budget. But gentlemen, let's talk about this. Azimio leader comes back into the country from Poland. He attended a conference of opposition leaders across the globe, and he's returning to a rally tomorrow in Kamkunji grounds. And this is most likely to pronounce himself into the budget. Let me start with you, Churchill. So what way, or which way Azimio tomorrow? Let's start immediately after that pronouncement. What will happen? Is it going to yield any fruit?
The thing is, and one of the things that Azimio has been trying to do is to package government in a given way that they want. And their mode of, when I look at their mode of engagement, the way they are handling opposition, it's not they're not necessarily interested in a structured opposition, but a structured opposition that is aimed at either obstructing government or influencing public opinion on a given issue, or making government to have, creating a public debate. So maybe those are some of the things that what they could be interested in. And during the rally on Tuesday, what I expect is that they want to raise the stake of how much this budget is going to make the lives of Kenyans difficult. So that the people can be able to see that this budget is not for you. So they just want to package government in a negative way, that this is a government that is working for themselves. They want to eat your money, just negatively, but nothing constructive. I get it.
Yes.
So
what would be the outcome?
So the outcome will just be a political. It will just be a political opinion. Will just be how does the people perceive government?
Right.
And in the long run, you realize that as the person who is leading a country, as leading a democracy, you will always want to lead a country that is, when you have this kind of economic turmoil where you have a lot of huge debts and things like that, you will always want to have peace and calm to rule that country. And so when you have this a strong force against you, you might then want to extend a hand for them and ask them, what do you want? I get it.
Yes.
So the opposition is raising a stake for them to be, for a hand to be raised on them, so that somebody can call them.
Yeah,
I get it.
This reminds me of what the president said yesterday in Kajiado, that whatever you do, please don't sabotage the economy. Do you think the president has an idea of what probably might happen from tomorrow. Wakili?
I think the president is very clear, because I think I will say that he wasn't so clear when he was campaigning, but now that he has taken the reins,
the pitch is now open.
The picture is very clear for him.
Yes.
The crystal ball is very clear for him, so he knows what he wants. The reason he came up with this budget, and he really wants to own it up, because he really has fought for it. He has pushed for it, as opposed to any other previous government we have ever seen. We didn't see Kibaki fight for a budget. At least there was some push and pulls in parliament, but we didn't see an executive which is hell-bent, making sure, even issuing failed threats. And then he's also making statements like the ones which he made in Kajiado yesterday, that this country belongs to all of us. Do your thing, but do not sabotage. You know where we stand. Between you and me, you know where we stand. Do not sabotage this particular process. Give me a chance to actually make this right. That is actually what he's asking. That's why I think Kenyans will not forgive him at the end of the day if this money is, which have been collected painfully from the pockets of Kenyans. I mean, albeit unwillingly, they are willing to let him have it, so that he can be able to use it to change this country. If he ends up claiming that he cannot, what else can he do? Like the former president told us, what else do you want me to do? And throw his hands up, then we will not forgive him, because we will have given him all that he asked for. We expect him to do that which we expect him to do.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break, but when we come back, Eric Theory, LSK president, said that he's been heading to court either today or tomorrow to challenge the application of the new taxes. And of course, we know that Azimio also said that they're going to court through Otiende Amolo, who said over the weekend, and we still have that court case by Okia Mtata still pending in court. We are waiting to see how this legal battle is going to pan out. Let's discuss that when we come back on what it means to the president, Azimio, and even you as the taxpayer. Remember, the deadline is fast approaching and the budget has to be rolled out. So what's going to be next? Let's take a break. We'll be discussing that shortly after this.
내 말이 개뼈다구로 들리냐?
예, 씨발! 경찰아, 범인 쫓아 빨리. 내가 여기 막을 테니까. 아, 여기를 어떻게 혼자 커버해? 지금 하고 있잖아, 임마!
직전입니다. 아무튼 전부 때려잡을 기세입니다. 대비를 하시는 게 좋을 것 같습니다.
아유, 진짜 일맛같이 돌아가네. 야, 정용아.
예, 사장님.
야문 놈들 데리고 가서 신부 험하게 나오면 바로 뭉개버려, 알았어?
예, 사장님.
Aiya. Shika weka hapo kwa customer.
Alafu uendelee kupika singine.
Mami, wewe unaweza kuwa mwizi.
Umesema nini?
Mimi uniletee ile kamukate ulileta juice. Jitayarisha ukule ugali choma.
Wali na marage ya nazi. Na nawa tu kutoa uchafu ingine nilikuwa nimeshika hapa nyuma. Kuna rafiki yangu ameni-invite kwa 5-star hotel. Tutaonana.
Okay.
Simeenda wapi?
Ya. Sukuma meno.
Mbaya. Mbaya kwa nini sasa?
Kumbe mtu kukufa ni dakika hivi mama. Mtu kukufa ni dakika hivi tu. Tuko na chemist yangu hapa. Kitu ni kafano.
Unamaanisha nini? Manake sikuelewi.
Yeah. Welcome back. We are still having this discussion here on Iron Politics. We're just taking a look at what happened over the week, or the past 1 week as budget is concerned, and now what we should be looking forward to this coming week. Now, okay, let me start with you at this particular point. A legal battle is at the doorstep of the president. LSK boss Eric Theory says that he's going to go to court today to challenge the application of the taxes. Okia Mtata's case is still pending in court. And of course, we have got civil servants, we have got taxpayers, a host, or even Azimio. Otienda Molo said that they are going to go to court. Now, this must be so heavy for the courts to determine and the president to be patient. We know the deadline is fast approaching. So what is going to give?
From where I sit, I think it's not going to be so heavy. What there is, or what is going to happen is, Okiya Mtata came to court before, I think a bit earlier, and some of the things he was raising are to the tune that there are some clauses in this particular financial bill which were actually offending the constitution.
Yes.
So the work of the courts is going to be very easy. Look at what the constitution says, interpret it vis-a-vis what the finance bill is trying to put across to Kenyans. Then they will be able to pronounce some of the sections of the finance bill or finance act, whatever that is going to be, if the president gets to sign it, to be offending the constitution. Then they will have to be thrown back to parliament for major amendments. So the battle for this is not done. We will need to give it some more time till the courts have decided on that. But a major part of the finance bill or the finance act, when the president assents, is still going to be clear or compliant with the constitution, and these sections the country will continue collecting the monies and expending them and using them for the benefit of the Kenyans, save for the specific sections, which I think there are not too many. So once the court makes a deliberate decision on that, then we will be able to know which ones have either Okiya Mtata petition or the Theory's petition have been able to prove to be against the constitution, because there's that threshold. Is that particular threshold which you have to present to the court, and the courts will have to weigh against what it is, because courts, for their work is not to say that, we are looking at public interest. What they are looking at is the legality of the whole process, whether it reaches the threshold of the constitution, which is very important. If you listen to what Jimmy was talking about, that some of the monies have been used illegally against, or some of the debts have been acquired without the consent of parliament, that brings a lot of questions. So we'll start now seeing a very clear, transparent process, which even in the next budget, when this is going to happen, it will be very clear in the minds of Kenyans that, we don't want to do something which is going again to be taken to court and then it's going to be stopped. For example, if a scenario comes by where the 1.5% of the housing tax, which is if the court finds that indeed, just for argument's sake, that it's not going to be agreeing with the constitution or it's offending the constitution. And it's such a big part of this particular budget that's been viciously negotiated that is going to derail the plan of government. So they will have to wait and, for example, regularize. And we have had some of these things actually happen. You remember the issue of handing KMC to the military. I went to court. The court had to give some trade-offs. I think it was very, very fair to the government and to the other people that this is wrong, but we give you a year to regularize. So you don't collect till you regularize, and then you can go ahead and collect. That becomes a win-win situation for both parties. So we are likely to see some of those scenarios play out, because also government will also be there to make their case. So it's be the courts which will be able to see what kind of trade-offs or what kind of fair arrangements they can be able to give to Kenyans, so that they can see that the government does not stop, and also we don't end up offending the constitution while at it.
Churchill, from the legal aspect, he's put his submission. But let me ask you this question. I'm avoiding to ask him that question. What do you really think lies, or the judge, what rings in the head of that judge who's going to handle such cases? For example, from Eric Theory, particularly this one.
I think the judge will try to give wisdom that is based on trade-offs, because you look at the kind of vigor that the executive has driven this finance bill.
Yes.
I'm sure that where the executive sits and where the chief advisor, legal advisor of government sits, the AG, he would want to do everything to ensure that he wins the case in court. And I'm sure that the court might come with a decision that is a balance of both for government and also for the petitioner. And you know, my key issue will be the issue of the time, which I think you raised at some point. You know, the time that is going to take for this to be for the ruling to be taken and things like that. So when I look at where the judges sit, I do not expect them to fully negate or fully, you know, just thrash out some of the proposals that have been made or that have been mentioned by Okia, or by Theory, sorry.
Yes.
That have been mentioned by Theory. So I don't expect them just to say that, you know what, these things are against the Constitution, let us thrash them out. Because you see, there has been a whole process of getting to this budget. And so by thrashing out certain provisions without very thoughtful process, then it will have a huge impact on the executive.
But be that it may, do we still have some challengeable clauses in that tax in totality from where you sit? Let me start with you, Wakili. Some clauses, one or two things that can be challenged in court?
They are. I think from where I sit, if I haven't quite looked at the Theory's petition, and Okiya Omtatah was a bit all over the place. He will need some little bit of evidence to attach to it, which I think he will need the bill to pass as it has passed, and then be able to use some of the deliberations in there, or some of the professional group will come that we gave this counter proposal, it was never acted, this offends this. You know, that will really help in terms of approving Okiya Omtatah's petition. Theory, I think, petition will come at a clear point when we have this is what has been passed.
Yes.
Now, I hope even the judges will need to consolidate the two to have just a one case to ensure that we sit through this process in a very clear, to avoid the issues of this one is litigating over the same issues, the other one is litigating multiplicity of suits which are likely to be under the same results. So the best thing, I think, I don't know what the High Court is going to do, but sometimes you have seen scenarios whereby they are asked to actually, you are challenging the same thing, and you just amend, or we have, and then you do, the court can be able to decide once and for all on all the issues, and then a bench is decided to actually look onto those issues. So that becomes in the part of the management of the court, and depending on how they see it. I haven't seen the Theory's petition as yet. So when we are at that point, we'll be able to know what it is. But as to your question, whether they are challengeable clauses, they are. From where I sit, they are. For example, the housing tax, I think it's something which is not so clear to me as yet. As a lawyer, I think I will, if asked upon, I will be able to give my advice on that, because I feel that we need to have some.
Would you give us a pro bono advice?
We did. Yes, free advice with the public. But, I mean, yes, it is that they want to collect this one, but they haven't explained as to how. The how is what is missing.
Who's going to be the caretaker?
Yes, such things. When they tell us the ministry is going to be in charge, well, we have the housing department, the State Department of Housing. Then what is this framework they're going to apply to? I mean, you're telling us throughout the constituencies. That is quite random, because even constituencies receive CDF and there's a CDF Act.
Exactly.
So we need to be sure that who is going, what will be the accounting process, who will be in charge of these monies, how are the houses going to be built, how will be the tendering process be done, for example. Do we need a specific arm to deal with this? Because there was Uhuru Project Housing. this is not the same as the Uru project. They are moving away from that. So when they move away from that, for Uru it was very clear we can see the houses. We also need to see a clear framework in regards to this so that we can know once your money, and you know it involves a lot of things. Involves a lot of things which have got to be reduced into, because it also talks about the employer-employee. So some of those things have got to be crystallized into a clear framework which we don't have as yet.
Okay. Chashel, you know the danger of having that question, because we are going to pay for the legal fees, much as on behalf of the citizens, he's giving his legal advice. But okay, let me ask you this. Looking at the entire situation, I mean, the whole process is going to go through court. So again, you can also chime in, Wakili. We have a deadline, 1st of July. This budget has to take effect. So what if, because the court cannot, they will go to either today or tomorrow, and the courts can give, depending, better courts do happen, things happen. But what if it doesn't become law 1st of July? Wakili, you can answer that when you come back. But then, what is your take on this? When you look at the whole situation, what do you think now the president has as an alternative to all this now happening right now?
You know, not all cases have to be solved in court. You know, you can seek out of court, negotiations, and just agree that you know what, call all these interested parties and agree with them on a give and take. Some of these will even involve trade-offs that that might not necessarily the public need not be privy to, just for the sake of ensuring that you have what you want go through. So that's one of the options that government the president can decide to go for. The other one, of course, is to wait and then go and battle with it on court. That will have impact in the sense that the court might pronounce itself and have certain provisions thrashed out, or it might have time delay for certain implementation of some of the clauses, and that will have, of course, have impact in the implementation of his budget. You know, the problem with sometimes things getting to court is that the closeness of court sessions and also even the orders that come from court the public are never privy to them. So you might think that the public knows what is happening in court. So the public knows that, you know what, our budget had been passed, we are paying taxes, we expect this, and yet a court had already given an order, and certain provisions that you think is being implemented is actually not being implemented. But the public is not privy to it. So on the public, people think that you're not doing what you promised you do, yet in real sense you're not doing it because the court had done what. So those are the challenges that you'll find. If something gets to court, politically it has a negative implication to government. So it might be necessary maybe for the government to consider an out-of-court negotiation and just agree with these people and have certain trade-offs and get these things off, or work with the courts as it has happened before. He has a good relationship with the court, work with the court to expedite the process of making the rulings. That is like indicting the courts. Wakili is here, having a good relationship with them.
No, what he's trying to say...
That's like an indictment.
What I think
Churchill is trying to say...
What I think Churchill is trying to say that that is not has not been new. In the Uri regime, we saw a lot of conflict with the courts, and it really didn't... I think it might have contributed to maybe a small percentage or a significant percentage in terms of his legacy, which I don't think this current president has time or enough wiggle room to start fighting with the courts. He has already started off on a clear trajectory with the courts. So some of these things are debatable. The courts are willing to can be open to allowing some accommodation in terms of interest from both sides. So the best thing is to just go sit and do it quickly and say, for example, I think the housing tax might not be start to be effected till I think January. So maybe if that would be enough leg room for the legislation to pass, because at some point they were saying that we will need to pass the budget. Once we pass the budget, then it goes to the CES to bring a bill to Parliament to explain how these monies are going to be used. Rather, we can still have that process go even further, even move to February or March. We have a clear act, and then they start using the money. Because there's no, the law is very clear that once you tax, you need to give a clear representation on how this is going to be expended. That's what maybe the courts will want to look at, that where is this framework? How soon can you have it? Can you delay the collection of the money till this is in place? And once that is in place, then there will be no question as to
this takes
whether
back to the question I asked you. So what would be the ripple effect if the court said 1st of July is this coming weekend, the budget doesn't take effect? So what would be the legal implication?
There are two scenarios I see here. The scenario will be if there doesn't exist an order for the president not to sign, he will go ahead and sign, and it will take effect. The Theory and Okiyo Mtara and whoever will want to come to court, because I will want to imagine that some more people will want to jump in after it has been very clear to them. They will want to jump in and be able to put their petitions to the courts. That process will take the time that it needs to take, because some of those things, they are not going to be very immediate. So once that is in place, then the courts will be able to advise whether to give injunctive orders to some of these issues, or to just say, let's listen from all the parties. Let's listen from all the parties. You have come with your petition, let the state also respond and give maybe a time frame of a week or two to actually look into it. Once this has been very clear, the both parties have presented whatever it is that they have to, then the court can be able to make a very clear decision whether there needs to be an injunctive order or not. If there is a scenario whereby there is going to be an injunctive order, then that is of course very clear to the state that then the signing process will have to wait. We'll have to see. It will be akin to what we have seen in the US, the closing down of government. What the county governors were trying to say around here, but I don't think they pulled through it. They were a bit weak on that. So during the Trump's time, we saw the government being shut down for some time. That no government money, still we agree. I think for a week or two. So that was something which I think we are going to see more of, that the government will not be able to start using monies till the law is really complied with. We hope we don't get there, because we understand the challenge, because also government needs money to run things. If we get there, then a lot of things are going to be, a lot of Kenyans are going to be affected. But if there are some reliefs which we can have the president sign, and then we have some particular sections stopped, or be indicted for further scrutiny by the courts, or for both parties to come with a clear framework on how that is going to happen, then that is something I think we should be willing to take, and courts should be able to look into it in that particular aspect.
Just to ask out of curiosity, I'm not a legal expert, but do you think the courts can actually allow the transmission to the president for assent for the budget to take effect, but hold certain clauses not to be signed and taken back for consideration or debated upon?
Yes, that would be the case, but you know, cases also are determined.
All the entire budget can be nullified in totality.
I don't think we are at that place. I don't think we are at that place to nullify the entire budget in totality. That it will mean that everybody was asleep with the law. That
it would be like nullifying an election.
An election, exactly.
Yes, yes.
Certain classes will be picked, go for court processes, but the president can be allowed to. All right, okay.
Yes.
So, all right, okay. Let's see how it goes to happen. Gentlemen, there's something I want to talk about here. The fourth estate, we've been receiving a lot of fire of late. Allow me to be on this end on behalf of my colleagues in the Republic. Where are we? What have we done wrong, Sauki? What have we done wrong in this situation? Are we, on your side, are we doing our role as the fourth estate? Are we beaming that bright light on the government, the checks and balances? Are we going past our mandate, or are we doing what we're supposed to do correctly?
Well, I think it is important for us to be a little more objective on this issue, especially when we look at where our country has come from, and also where societies of democracies, how democracies emerge. You know, the question of open societies, the whole question of an open society is the idea that you can be able to see through the lenses of everything that happens in every institution and raise concerns if need be. And the concerns that are raised, the authorities need to clear the concerns. That's the whole idea about having an open society. So if we are interested in having open societies, and open societies means that the society is right from the family unit all through to governments. So accountability requires that we are open for scrutiny, and people raise issues when they are scrutinized, and the issues that are raised, you can then either clear the issues, so that people can have the right perspective of them. So that's the objective thing about having open society and accountable institutions. The other side, which many people might not want to go to, is the closed society or the closed systems, where we can be able to do whatever we want, the way we want it, and whether they are dark or they are evil or they are bad or they are good, we do them. People do not know what we are doing, and people do not care what we are doing, and people do not even want to know what we are doing. In the long run, people can be killed, and nobody will want to know. Resources can be plundered, nobody will want to know, or people don't want to know. So we really need to ask ourselves, do we want an open and accountable institutions, or do we want closed institutions? If we want open institutions, we must be open to scrutiny. And one of the institutions that is very important in scrutiny and also advancing openness of societies is media. All right?
Yeah.
If we cannot be able to allow media to scrutinize our institutions and our societies, then it means we do not necessarily believe in accountability. If the media is saying something wrong, then it is upon and it's up to those respective institutions to raise and finger and say what is right. Because in many cases you find when media raises certain issues and these issues they are being hit upon, or people don't like what they are saying, usually the truth is that the media is saying the truth that other people don't want to hear.
Okay, Wakili. We all know the fourth estate plays a key role. It's not the first time that the media has been point of attack. We all remember what happened sometimes when the former First Lady attacked a media house. We had some mercenaries. You remember what happened. The past regime also, Gazeti, this and that, ya kufanya nini na nini. But media still moved past that, and here we are.
I think
yes, go ahead.
I think the Kenyan media has really grown some thick skin, and that is commendable. I think in the whole of Africa, we really come out as a shining spotlight in terms of accountability, and that role is majorly played by the media. I like the kind of debate we are having like now, where we are actually shedding light on everything that is happening in the country. Some other places you cannot do that, in some other countries that I mean. So if we can be able to be in support of the media, and I like the way Kenyans came out and said, whatever it is that is happening, I think it didn't warrant whatever comments that which were offered. It's a very clear indication that Kenyans are woke, Kenyans are aware that we need the media. We need to support them as much as we can, because they are our only light, they are our only eyes in places which we cannot be able to see. If they cannot be allowed enough room to actually be able to do that, then if government becomes very vindictive or takes it personally when there are actually some questions are being put into them to actually answer, then there is something which they are hiding. So, and we don't need that. This particular regime does not need that. What we need is a transparent system. It's unfortunate that during the Kibaki era, we had a little bit of both. The incident which you have described, which I think also went to court, but there was also the other incident which I went to
court?
I think the one of the journalists who was attacked did so.
Yes.
And we saw, of course, the case going, but I mean, those are bygones. We also saw during that particular era an interesting scenario which I would want this government maybe to borrow a leaf from, whereby we had ministries of communication officers. We haven't seen that happen a lot in this, so that you have one point of call as journalists who can be able to set the record straight.
Yeah.
Instead of so that even the cabinet secretaries do not come out, because some of them are not trained in communication. So whenever they give their opinion, it comes out raw, which offends the credibility of even. They could be right that they feel attacked, but then some of these things do not need to play out the way they are playing out. If we have a trained expert in each of the ministries who can actually come out and be able to communicate in a clear way with enough PR, with enough communication, so that things do not burn out the way they are burning out, we are able to safeguard the credibility of the ministry, we are able to safeguard the credibility of the ministry, we are able to inspire confidence to Kenyans, which is very important to know that this government is responsive, that questions put to them, they can be able to respond.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'm sure that we need to wind up at that particular point. But remember, there was even the Bible, we had the scribes and Jesus, you know, and Jesus also feared the scribes. And according to the scribes, they were ancient Israel who were learned men whose business was to study the law, transcribe it, and write commentaries on it. They were also hired on occasions when the need was written document arose and interpretation of legal point was also needed, according to the book of Ezra. So, you know, the law of Moses, according to the law of Moses. So even Jesus himself feared the scribes in the Bible, because he didn't know he would go somewhere and the scribes would take it and interpret it, legal jargons here and there. So, yeah, nothing new under the sun. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for that. That has been Wakili Gibson Gesore, who is an advocate of the High Court and a political analyst as well. I have got Churchill Saoki, who's a political analyst and a very good commentator as well, joining me on set on Iron Politics. All right, you as a viewer, thank you so much for your valid company. My name is Victor Lo. Thank you for watching. GMK continues after this break. Stay with us.
The show that keeps you updated on everything you need to know about technology.
Digital resilience is about organizations being able to continue to operate despite negative impacts that they've experienced.
The subject digital transformation, we keep talking about it, but very many people fail to understand that.
Twitter's removal of blue ticks is forcing accounts to find new ways to prove authenticity as concerns over copycats mount. At the same time, Elon Musk has given blue ticks to a few celebrities who didn't ask for one, such as writer Stephen King and Larry Madowo, for free.
Click on Tech every Monday at 10:30 p.m. on KBC Channel 1. Stay tuned.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened live. We'll let you know what you missed, even if you were present.
And our goal is to continue supporting our own.
From the latest celebrity buzz,
fashion,
music,
and all manner of youth talents,
the Grapevine cameras rove all week to bring you the latest in the enormous entertainment scene.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m. and the rerun on Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1, baby.
Engage us on Facebook and Twitter, #Grapevine on KBC. Let us know what is happening in your area code, because you know what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine,
then it most probably never happened. Bah!
Ain't nobody gotta tell you what you gotta do.
vehicles to get into the no man's land and collect the bodies for them. They were just waiting on their border, on the side of the border. So we did that for a long time. We used to do that, and it was also very hard for us. But I found it fulfilling because at least I was doing something to help humanity. Today you go there, you find peaceful, and people agree that we are no longer going to steal cattle from each other. After a week or so, it flares up again. So it became sort of a cat and mouse game until the president ordered the military to go there. You start going there, you find the place deserted. The cattle, you are being told they were camping there, the stolen cattle, you find them no more. They went. Why? Somebody they knew had leaked out the information. We got selected to go and form the first military air wing, which was christened 50 ACB, 50 Air Cavalry, 50 Air Cavalry Battalion. From there I flew until 1985. I flew there, I flew missions, I went to all over the place in Kenya here. We were tasked as a UN force then to go and try to identify them and maybe allocate, take them to the authorities, then Iranian authorities, to try to dispose of their dead. The others, and some of these bodies were in no man's land. On the border, there is the border post. Then from the border post, you have to walk for some time. Then you get another border post. The defense attaché normally is just a coordinator between the two countries. Between the two countries' military issues. Yeah. So I stayed there for 4 years. I came back. The late Minister for Foreign Affairs, who was called Bonaya Godang, and our ambassador, and General Sumbeyo, Lazarus Sumbeyo, was also, me, we formed a team which was part of the drafting team of comprehensive peace agreement. Being a trainer, it is like you doing training all over again, because you are with these people from morning up to evening, until they sleep. You are with them. Some of them might make mistakes. Some of them, an example is, I was in a place called Kainuk. Kainuk is in Turkana, on the way to Turkana, and we were in the field training. And I was showing them how to throw grenades. Normally you remove the catch and you stay with the catch and you throw the grenade. This guy removes the catch and throws the throws the catch and remains with the ground. And we are all there. So what would you do? What would you do? No, you can't run. Now this thing can explode anytime. We were just innocently driving on a road, on a dirt road, very, very smooth, and you find it's good. But when the vehicles, the lead vehicle, stepped on it. It's a heavy thing, so when you step on it, it will detonate. And it was, and we were vehicle number 1, and I was in vehicle number 2. In the morning, you take tea with somebody. You plan your battle. You go out. In the evening, that guy is not. Why you are carrying him back into the camp? The military career is good, but it is not for the faint-hearted.
Thank you for sticking with us. This is Family Check right here on Good Morning Kenya. A very good morning to you. If you've just joined us, you're in time for the next conversation this morning. My name is Ram Aguko. Today, let's talk about matters concerning our children, giving hope to the hopeless. In this particular conversation right here on KBC Channel 1, we want to talk about how matters concerning children. Remember, when you talk about children, some believe, or we have this notion that we're talking about children who stay with us, who are in our homes. Have you ever wondered what happens to the children who are in the streets? What about their welfare? Who takes care of them? If you are in Nairobi, they have met you at some point when you walk, begging for money, asking for handouts. What have you ever done to help these particular children? Well, this morning, let's talk about transformative leaders, those who are helping the hopelessness in the society. To my far right, I am with Sister Caroline Gatia. She is the director of Dorothea Rescue Center. Next to me is Sister Dorothy Atieno, the center coordinator. Karibuni sana.
Asante sana.
And sisters, it's a pleasure having you today. And for those who are watching from home, be part of this conversation. What are you doing to give hope to the hopeless? Let's talk about this. The hashtag as always is Good Morning Kenya. My handle is at Ram Maguko and at KBC Channel 1. Being told we take a break. All right, let's take a short break, and then we will be back with this particular conversation right here on Good Morning Kenya.
Born on 21st July 1935 in Ishamba at the foot of Taita Hills, Eliud Timothy Momunga built himself a reputation as an astute politician, adept at navigating the choppy waters of government. His political career began in 1969 after he contested and won the Voi parliamentary seat. In 1974, he was re-elected and appointed by President Jomo Kenyatta as the Minister for Water Development. During his 2-year stint in the ministry, Mamunga spearheaded projects that included the construction of the country's first dams water supply schemes for urban areas and irrigation schemes that boosted agricultural production. In 1976, Kenyatta switched Mamunga with Gekonyo Kiano, who had been in charge of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. In 1979 general election, Mamunga recaptured his Voi parliamentary seat. In spite of an uneasy relationship with Moi due to his links with ministers and businessmen close to Kenyatta, Mamunga was reappointed to the cabinet as Minister for Information and Broadcasting. In 1983, however, he fell out with President Moi, marking the beginning of his exit from government. In 1988, he was sacked as the Minister for Information and Broadcasting and later dethroned by Adiel Kachila as Voi MP. Many MPs perceived to be anti-Moi lost their seats. As the national purge continued, Mamunga lost his chairmanship of the Taita Taveta Kanu branch and was later suspended from membership in the branch. In 1992, however, Mamunga joined Kibaki to launch the Democratic Party after the constitution was changed in 1991 to allow multi-party politics. He was named the DP Coast representative and he played an active role in popularizing the new party. However, the division in the newly formed opposition parties made it difficult for them to win the elections. Mamunga himself lost in the Voi parliamentary election. He then retired from active politics and retreated to Ishamba to concentrate on business and farming. Mamunga would then struggle with ill health until his demise on June 9, 2018, at the age of 83. Jacqueline Masharia for the Cabinet.
All right, welcome back. And as I said, this is Family Check. Thank you for choosing Good Morning Kenya. Now, let's talk about giving hope to the hopeless. And before we took that break, I just introduced my guests this fine Monday morning. And let me start with you, Sister Caroline. When we talk about the Dorothea Rescue Center, what do you do and what is it all about? Briefly.
Okay. At Dorothea Rescue Center is where we rescue, rehabilitate and reintegrate resocialize street girls. We go to the streets, we visit these girls 3 times a week. We identify the age groups that we want to rescue. We rescue age 5 years to 11 years.
You mentioned very key words there. You
rescue, rehabilitate, reintegrate and resocialize street girls.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And we will tackle all of that.
Yes.
Let's talk about to rescue.
To rescue.
First of all.
Yes.
When you talk about rescuing these children, and I love the fact that it has a structure.
Yes.
But our kids who are in the streets of Nairobi, how do you manage to pick out those who should be rescued and those who should not? Because even as we speak, there are still so many in the streets of Nairobi. There are so many of them. How do you manage to get each one of them off the streets and making sure that they don't go back? Let me start on you.
We normally go to different streets of Nairobi, like Isili, Kamkunji, Glogon, and we identify the girls. We normally go there at least 3 times. Then from there, we make friendship with them. After that, we give them some interviews if they can allow themselves to go back to school. Then from there, we give them a date, then we come and pick them.
All right.
So that we pick them back to our center.
All right.
Yeah.
So what are these interviews all about as you rescue them?
Yeah, they have to come willingly. They have to willingly move out of the streets. We don't force them to come out of the streets. And then we go very early in the morning, because that's when you get the real street children. Remember, we also have those that come in the morning and go back home. There are those again, but for us, we go for those that sleep and use drugs while on the streets. Yes.
Now, I will need that clarification. When I walk in the streets of Nairobi, is every child that I see begging for money as a street child, someone who is actually there because life was difficult for them?
Yes.
Or do we have those that are just going there for other reasons? Because you mentioned that we have those that are true.
They sleep on the streets.
Yes.
And we have the day scholars. We call them day scholars. And
Define
for
that
these
for
day
me.
scholars, yes, what we do preventive measures to make them not come to the streets. But then the ones that use drugs, the ones that sleep on the streets are the ones we go for.
Okay.
Yes, while we do preventive measures like these ones, we try and support these families.
Who are the day scholars that you are referring to?
So these girls are sent by their parents to go to the streets. You will sometimes find them with their parents begging, and then going back in the evening, they go back home.
So it's a choice to be in the streets for them?
Yes. And then it's because of their parents, because of extreme poverty that makes them go to the streets.
Yes.
So what we do, we support these families so that they don't end up again being and living on the streets.
Okay.
Yes.
So should I give my money to those that I meet on the streets when I walk during the day, sister?
You can consider the condition of the girl or of the boy.
But then how do you consider the condition? How
Maybe the way she has dressed or her health situation can make you to give the girl or the boy some money, or you buy for her something to eat. Because some, they are being sent by their parents, and some, they are just going there because of the poverty. The way sister has said, the extreme poverty can make the child to go and beg. So you consider some factors like that.
But then we don't advocate for them, for you giving them money. Maybe you buy something, maybe food or something, but still the government doesn't want us to even buy food, because it's like we kind of pull them out of their families to come to the streets because of those handouts that they are given.
So we are discouraging handouts.
Yes.
Okay.
The government is really against that.
Okay. So the Kenyans watching today need to understand that there is a difference between those who are actually there and have not been sent, and those who are there and have been sent.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is it okay? Is that right when you find a child has been sent to beg for money while the mother is seated somewhere else?
It's not right.
Give me the logic behind this.
It's not right, because this child must be in school, but she's just on the streets. And then she follows even what the others are doing. Imagine a young girl of 4 years sniffing cigarette, sniffing glue, sniffing bangi. A very young child of 4 years. It's not right. But then that's why we go out for them. We go rescue them. Come and rehabilitate them. So while we rehabilitate them, we are trying and helping these families so that the environment becomes conducive for reintegration. Because eventually these girls must be reintegrated back to their families. But then now the question is, where do you reintegrate this child? Where do you take this child back? Because the mother is on the streets. The mother is using drugs. So it's really a big challenge. And the animal in the house is, how do we reintegrate? How do we take these girls back to their families? So So we work hand in hand with these parents. And what we do after rehabilitation, we first, like now the ones that can be reintegrated, we reintegrate them. The ones that cannot be reintegrated, we take them to boarding schools while we work with the parent. And over the holidays, we get foster parents to stay with them.
But then, sister, some Kenyans chase these kids away. When they approach to ask for money, they get chased away. Some kids sell sweets.
Yes.
They sell different items.
Yes.
What's your thought in regards to that particular course of action from the side of the Kenyan or the passerby?
I don't blame people because, you know, it's out of experience. When you hear experiences from these people, they say that maybe these street children are also not very kind. If they find you kind of begging, or they...
Yes, just proceed.
So I was saying, if these, sometimes people have not been treated so well by these state children. So it is out of experience that they also become resistant. They don't want to help. Every time they see them on the streets, they just close up their windows because it's out of experience that they have been stolen or something. So we don't blame them.
All right. We don't blame them.
We don't blame them, yes. It's out of experience. Yeah, you know, initially you'd find even a street boy holding a feces like this and says, you either give me or I hit you. So it's out of experience that people fear them. And then the way they look at, you know, they look very desperate, they look dirty, and, you know, they look like they can fight back.
I've seen an instance, someone received a handful.
Yes.
Once I saw that.
Yes.
There are those who laughed, there are those who did not laugh. It depends on how you look at it from each perspective.
Yes.
But let's take a break.
Okay.
And then we'll be back. Let's talk more about this particular case that is affecting us in the country. We'll be back in a bit.
내 말이 개뼈다구로 들리냐?
예, 씨발! 형사, 범인 조사 빨리 내가 막을 테니까. 여길 어떻게 혼자 커버해? 지금 하고 있잖아, 임마!
직전입니다. 아무튼 전부 때려잡을 기세입니다. 대비를 하시는 게 좋을 것 같습니다.
아유, 진짜 일맛같이 돌아가네. 야, 정용아.
예, 사장님.
야문 놈들 데리고 가서 신부 험하게 나오면 바로 뭉개버려, 알았어?
예, 사장님.
Ya. Shika weka hapo kwa customer.
Alafu uendelee kupika singine.
Mami, wewe anaweza kuwa mwizi.
Umesema nini?
Mimi uniletee ile kamukate ulileta juice. Jitayarisha ukule ugali choma.
Wali na maraga ya nazi. Na nawa tu kutoa uchafu ingine nilikuwa nimeshika hapa nyuma. Kuna rafiki yangu ameni-invite kwa 5-star hotel. Tutaonana.
Okay.
Simeenda wapi? Ya. Sukuma meno.
Mbaya kwa nini sasa?
Kumbe mtu kukufa ni dakika hivi mama. Mtu kukufa ni dakika hivi tu. Tuko na chemist yangu hapa. Kitu ni kafano.
Unamaanisha nini? Manake sikuelewi.
Wewe na mama mko sawa?
Mko sawa mwanangu.
Unakumbuka kabla sijasafiri nilikwambia kuwa when I come back I'll make things right.
Hebu focus na mambo ya shule. Mambo ya baba na mama wa shule watafix issue zao wenyewe.
Abel is my son.
Me and my wife Zari tumechoka kwa mlezi wake. Now take him with you when to come late.
You know, Wakili, sometimes I think you're too strict.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. We're back with this conversation. And before we took that break, sister, you mentioned that sometimes children, these street children, carry human waste and they use it as a weapon.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Let me come to you, sister, when we talk about how we perceive street families. What are some of those challenges you've seen in regards to how we perceive them? Is there something that we need to work on before we even talk about picking them up from the street?
Yeah. You know, most of the families, or as normal families, we normally consider street families as hopeless or desolate families.
Yes.
Yeah. So most of us, we normally take it, they are not worthy for us to be together or to mingle with them together so that we may share with them what we have. And it is to see it in a reasonable way, we normally find it that for sure it is very hard for a normal family to mingle with a street family. Yes. Because of their condition. Most of the families from the street, they are using drugs, their environmental condition is very dirty, and you see it is very hard for the normal family to be together with the streets families. Yes.
All right. Sister, on your take on the same, some of those perceptions that we need to work on as a society when it comes to how we treat street families.
Yeah, they are human beings for sure. And when given chance, they change. And that's why when we go to the streets and rescue these street girls, when you rescue them from the streets, they are very dirty. And when we bring them to the center, we start off the rehabilitation where for 21 days, it's detoxification, because some of them have been using drugs, some of them have been using bangi. So we detoxify, and ourselves, we engage them physically. They do a lot of exercise, they drink a lot of water for 21 days. Thereafter, we take them for medical checkup. We do complete medical checkup, and also we start now home tracing, because we must locate and we must trace their parents, and they must give us consent to stay with them at the center.
But then I'm looking at us who walk along the streets of Nairobi.
Yeah.
How we treat them, how we handle them.
Yeah, it's just good to be kind. Even if you're not talking to them, not maybe sometimes you see policemen hit them. They fear policemen. They fear the county council police. Yes, because they beat them. Sometimes they when they find them lying on the ground with, they sleep on the sacks. So they just pick them as if it's like this. This is a luggage, and then put them in those lorries.
But then are they not the ones that steal?
Who, these children?
Yes,
stealing them,
stealing items from people, bags from women, even from vehicles, stealing a vehicle or car parts.
Yeah, some we can't say no, some yes, but those small ones, those some, you see, we in the street families, in the street families, we have different levels. We have those children, we have big ones. So these children, they grow, and now it's like when they are not helped, they end up becoming now thieves. But those small ones who keep begging and begging, sometimes they are harmless. But those big ones, they are very, very dangerous, yes. Yeah, they are dangerous, and that's why people fear, and that's why people have to protect themselves from them.
So it depends on their age.
Yeah, but surprisingly, as we go to the streets, they never steal from us. They in fact tell us, sister, please give me your phone, I keep it for you because it will be stolen. So they will keep it for you because they know you are taking care of them. Yes.
You know, some young ladies, especially those in campus, when they walk in the streets of Nairobi and they see one approach, they run.
Yes, they do.
Or they increase their pace.
You see, they have kind of to fight and get something, and then they go sell those phones, and it's only that they are really struggling to get something, and they graduate to be thieves. Yes, when these children are not rescued, when these children are not rehabilitated, they graduate to be thieves. Even in rehabilitation centers, you find some of them still and run away to the streets. Yes, so it's really something that we rehabilitate and then they change their way of life.
All right.
Yes.
So you have something to add on top of that?
Yeah, it is good to help them, but sometimes you consider, the way Sister said, you consider age limit, and the young ones are very harmless. So it is good when you see them passing by through, you just give them something.
So is there a particular age of a child whom, if I see, I should run?
Help.
Is there a particular age? Help me understand, as a common mwananchi, what age group should I be giving my money to or buying food to?
The government is really against us supporting them on this because it's like we are advocating for them to stay in the streets.
Yes.
You see, so what the government wants is that maybe we can help those rehabilitation centers to be able to support this, because you know, or if you can be able to rescue one, you rescue them and take them back to school. That can help instead of giving them handouts, because it's those handouts that keep them on the streets.
Now, as a Kenyan, and I want to, I feel empathetic towards one street family.
Yes.
I bump across one and I want to help them. What should I do, sister?
You can support. You can decide to identify a certain family, then you build for him, or you rescue her or him from the street, so that you may build for him a house, a better place to stay. Yeah. Then you can also create for him job opportunities, like a small business. You just give him to start with.
Yeah. And then keep on pushing and asking them, why are you on the streets? Would you want to change? Would you want to come out of streets? Because you see, helping them daily doesn't help, because what is their future?
Yes, and
what is their future?
And that's where I'm targeting. That's what I want to understand, because some of these handouts are not long-lasting.
Yes, they are not.
You may buy them food, but tomorrow they will still be hungry.
Definitely, yes.
You may give them some money, but they will use it on drugs.
Yes.
So what should I do as a permanent solution?
Is to rescue this child, to help out, rescue this girl or boy from the street.
But I don't have a center. I do not know a center. What do I do?
You see, we have different centers.
Yes.
And even the government has, where we partner with them. You see, for us, we partner with the government. When they identify these street children, they call us and tell us, come, there's this street child that needs to be rescued. So people need to be, they need to be aware of these rescue centers, where when you identify a boy or a girl who wants to change, because there are those who are very comfortable being on the streets, and there are those who really want to come out of the streets. So those who want to come out of the streets should be helped out of the streets. And then, I don't know, maybe the government should come up with a way of dealing with those who don't want to come out of the streets, because definitely there are those who are very comfortable sniffing glue, using bangi while on the streets. Even if you try and help them, they don't want. They are rescued and then they relapse back to the streets. Yeah, that becomes a big challenge of relapsing.
All right.
Yes.
So what I should do, I should find a rescue center.
Yes.
Take them there. And just
or you
follow
call
up.
There are so many. You can Google rescue centers, rehabilitation rescue centers. You can network those, and then you engage them. Do you want to move out of the streets? Because that is a long-term solution. Or you can support his education. There are those who say, if you take me to school, then I will change. Or if you pay my school fees or support my family, maybe you go out of your way. But not every time you find them on the streets, you give them handouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about that aspect of removing them from the streets. What's the procedure of getting this child out? You've identified a child.
Yes.
They're there.
Yeah.
They are there,
Yeah.
standing or seated there. Now, give me that step-by-step approach towards removing them from that particular position.
After identifying the child from the street, you talk to her, or you build that relationship with her for 2 to 3 days. Then after that, you engage her. After engaging her, you make friendship with her.
So it means that I will be going there to visit.
Yes, it's a process.
It's a process.
It's a
So
process,
they are
yes.
not removed from the streets within a day.
No.
You go, pick, get out.
They
No.
must also trust you.
Okay.
You know, it's building trust between this child and us. Yes.
So it takes how long, approximately?
At least 3 months. And now since they know us, we go three days in a week. We go to the streets, we visit them, we be with them, and then they know us. Like every time you go to Grogon here, they know us. Sister Carol has come. She has come to pick us. She has come, and then they are looking forward to coming out of the streets.
Many
Even
Kenyans-
the others say, please take this one, please take this one. So because they know you, they know you because they also fear of child trafficking. So many children have been trafficked. Yes.
And many Kenyans know the story of Grogon.
Grogon is the
Grogon has
biggest.
affected people.
Yes. But surprisingly, we go there and they don't steal from us.
Maybe they respect the regalia.
But they know us very well. They know that we are going there and we want to rescue them. We want to rescue girls. And in fact, they even say, please, sister, take this one, take this one. You know, they help you. But there are those, again, who want to remain there, especially those big men and women. Yes.
And you are glad that they look at your dressing and they say, who you?
Sister.
Sister.
Yes.
I don't know if I can go there.
Yes.
For 3 days in a week, going there every single day. Will they get used to me? Someone like me?
Definitely, because you also have social workers. They go there and they know them. And they're just lay people.
So you do this for 3 months?
Yes.
3 times a week?
Yes. For
3 months.
Yes.
Just interacting with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, during these 3 months, you're building some trust.
Yes.
You're building a relationship.
Yes.
Now, what do you do in terms of food and in terms of their welfare? What do you do within these 3 months as you're building trust?
As we are building trust, you know, when you give somebody something like food, it means you are enticing them. Us as a rescue center, we don't entice the girls.
So you only talk?
We only talk. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Only talk, but no food.
Yes.
So that you don't mislead them into believing that your agenda
Yes, to bring food or to bring them something.
because every time they see you, they'll expect food.
Yes.
Wow.
And also, we also have cases like when we go to the streets, you may find a very sick girl. We are forced to rescue her. So there are those that we rescue immediately, especially the sick ones, because they may not stay in the streets for a long time.
Do you preach to them within these 3 months? What? Do you Bible?
Basically, it's just
we just talk. At least we create that trust with them.
But remember, these are children who are even using drugs. They don't even want to use it. Kind of, oh, sister, you have come. Oh, that is good.
So no
and they continue sniffing. They don't even fear. They continue sniffing and smoking.
Let me say it again. No scriptures.
No scriptures.
Wow.
Yes.
So you're talking to them, they sniff glue as you interact.
Yes. And at one point, it also affects us. Like one time I went to the streets and I found one of the boys had been hit. Before I went to Dorothea Rescue Center, I was in Kwetu Home of Peace. It's a rehabilitation center for street boys.
Yes.
So I went to the streets and found a boy that had been hit, and now they were waiting for me to take them to the hospital. So we got into the car, the one who was hit and 2 more, and they had already sniffed you see, we have jet fuel. They have different types of drugs. We have jet fuel. Jet fuel is, you find them with something like a wet cloth. They kind of sniff every time. And then there is that glue, the ones that they use for shoes. Then they sniff that one, and then we have others like Bangi and so forth. So these ones had sniffed the jet fuel, and it is very strong. So when we got into the car, as we were going to the hospital, by the time we were reaching there, he said all of us will be drunk by the time we reach to the hospital, because yes, it also affects us. Every time you go home, you have to take milk because it affects us as well.
So you end up ingesting that?
Yes, inhaling. Yes,
inhaling the jet fuel.
Yes, you inhale. Yes, it also affects us.
Wow. So as you interact with these street children for 3 months, it has also, apart from that,
it affects us as well.
Psychological effects on you.
Yes.
All right. Just give me an instance of how you've managed to, beat the psychological effects of the interactions that you have with street children for 3 whole months. I know there are other sisters that at some point say, oh my God, I just do not want to go back. There are those challenges that you face, sister.
Yeah, psychological effects which we normally face. Sometimes you can engage, the way sister said, you find yourself also you are drunkard. Because when you reach home, you find yourself you have also taken all those drugs the boys have taken or the girls have taken. So this one will also affect you. Which will make you, sometimes you feel a lot of fatigue, you just want to sleep. So it makes us to feel tired. We feel that tiredness, fatigue, yeah.
It wears your body out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you go and rescue girls or boys, but sometimes they normally have their leaders there in the bases where they are staying.
Okay. They have their own leadership.
They have their own leadership there in the bases where they stay. And you must talk with that leader is when we take the girls. Yeah, you must identify yourself with the leader so that you may take the girl. Sometimes you might go there, you are it is your first time, it is your first experience. You find yourself in a wrong side because they don't know you. So sometimes it is very hard to rescue girls if you have not identified yourself with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, and then, still on the same psychological effects, you hear their stories. It saddens you.
It does.
It makes you question people. It makes you question life. It makes you even question authorities. Talk about that. Still on psychological effects, sister.
Like there's a girl we rescued last year, but one who was very sick.
Yeah.
Very sick. And she had wounds that keep recurring. And I remember I moved from one hospital to another. It really tortured me because you don't know where this girl is suffering from. You've gone even to Nairobi Hospital, you've gone to Kenyatta, you've gone to Coptic, you've gone to any other hospital.
Doctors are not saying
and you don't know. Yes, it is until when I went to Coptic Hospital. That is when one of the doctors said, sister, this child is suffering from skin TB. And he said, let us carry out tests. And then somebody else advised me, sister, why don't we take this child to another hospital? Let's seek another opinion. And then another doctor told me, sister, please don't give this child that drug for TB because it's going to be very harsh on her. And she might not even make it, she might die. So when you hear of death again, you start fearing. So, until when we started treating that, after 2 years down the line, you can imagine this girl with the wounds. And that's why she was dropped on the streets because of those wounds.
How is she doing right now?
She got healed. After 2 years, she got healed. She got healed. And it gives us joy. When you see the end product, that's why we go back to the streets again to rescue, because eventually these children change and you cannot even believe they are the same girls. They transform and they embrace education. That gives us energy to continue supporting them.
Wow.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, even as we talk about this, you may think these are just stories that you hear. Some of those children are here in studio. And we are going to work on a particular feature to give it to you so that you can be able to know about their story. It will come up very, very soon. I hope that we will work with the producers to get to the story from the children themselves. You mentioned they have their own leadership.
Yes.
They have their own, government.
Yes. Even in the center, when they come to the center, they still have their government. They have their president, deputy president, governor, senator. They have all that. And they are so proud to say, I'm the president of Dorothea Rescue Center. They are so proud about it.
And do you approve of it?
Definitely. And they kind of campaign. They campaign and they vote, and we respect that. Yes.
This is so interesting. I want to talk to some of these kids here from their own lips and get to know the intensity of the streets, the life that they have lived.
Yes.
Now, once you've managed to build trust within these 3 months, what next? What do you do? How do you know that it is now the right time for us to go and pick up this child and take her to the rescue center?
We normally have that 3 months of street visits.
Yes.
Where we go and identify the child, we bond with the child. After bonding with the child, we have a specific date. Our calendar is that well managed. We have a specific day or a specific date that we are going to pick the girls from the street. That one is after that strong relationship, and we know that we have managed to build that strong relationship with the girls.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a particular date?
There is a particular date we set so that we are going to go and pick the girls.
What if the girl isn't comfortable on that particular date? Yes, you've managed to build trust, but when you go there, you say that you don't find her or something happens, the president of that particular group says, no, come tomorrow. Do you have those type of challenges that you go there intending to pick this child and you end up not doing that?
Yeah, it happens, but most of the time we normally find them. But in some rare cases, we normally find that there are so many organizations who are also rescuing girls in Kenya. Sometimes we normally find that the girl we have prepared has already been taken or has already been rescued. So kama tumepata msichana mwingine tena mwenye hako in that disparate situation, we just pick the girl. Tunamchukua tu bado.
But even later, if maybe you had prepared this girl and you don't find her, and then when you go back to the streets we find her, then
we just pick her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So within these 3 months, it means that there is someone else who is coming to visit them.
Yes.
Just as you are doing for 3 months.
Yes.
So
and there are those again who are dealing with the boys, girls, mothers and children. You know, there are different categories.
So it means that the street families and the street government knows these things.
Yes, the government is really supporting us.
All right.
We are very grateful for the government.
I'm talking, not the government for Dr. William Ruto.
Yes, no, the street families, the street families trust fund. There is a trust fund in the government.
I'm not talking about that. I'm referring to their leadership. The leadership of the street children.
Yes.
You mentioned they have their own
we
government.
Partner, yes. And one thing that is very unique with these street children, they love each other very much.
Yes.
And they take care. That's why they have their leaders. You cannot just pick a child. They are called base leaders. Yes, you must identify yourself with the base leaders.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Now, once you go there, and other groups also go there,
yes,
it creates in me a picture that the street families are aware about this kind of movements. They know these activities.
And they come even visit them in the centers. They follow them. Sometimes when we have a meeting, when we have meetings, we normally have meetings even with their parents. So we come pick their parents, we bring them to the center. base leaders accompany their mothers.
The base leaders?
Yes.
You're referring to them as the base leaders?
Yes, base leaders.
All
They
right.
are leaders. They sometimes accompany them when they come for the meetings. They accompany them to come and see where their children are.
All right.
Yes.
Before that, we were trying to understand leadership of the streets and leadership in the country.
Yes.
You mentioned something about a trust fund?
Yes.
For
Rehabilitation Trust Fund. Yes, there
Say
is
that.
the Rehabilitation Trust Fund that is a government arm that takes care of these street families. Yes, so we partner with the government. They support us. They support us to rescue, rehabilitate, and reintegrate these street children.
All right.
Yes.
Sister here mentioned that you go to the streets on a particular timeline, on a particular date. You pick this child and you take them to the rescue center.
Yes.
So what happens on the day that they enter the center?
Rescue.
What happens on this day?
The first day, on the day when they report on the center, you know, when they are from the street, they are so dirty. They are very dirty and they are hungry. So we normally give them first very strong tea with a lot of sugar, so that it may help in detoxifying the things they have taken from the street. After that, we shave them. They normally have very dirty hairs, so we shave them.
We have those with rastas.
Yes, and lice. Do you call them lice?
Lice.
Yes, lice.
We shave them. From there, we take them and we wash them. Yes. Then we do admission, and we have their specific admission numbers.
And towards the end of the day, we have now the ritual of burning their clothes. They take themselves those clothes, we pull it a fire, and then they take those clothes, they burn them as a sign that they have decided to live street life and embrace another life.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a good point to take a break. It's a lot of information, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more. We are talking about giving hope
to the hopeless.
To the hopeless.
Yes.
Thank you, sister. We are doing a very good job here.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a bit. Keep engaging with us. Isn't this an amazing story here?
Perhaps there's a witness. Yes, there's probably a witness who saw everything that happened.
Makes me think that there must have been some kind of a relationship between Olegario and my mother aside from her work in the house.
Well, I don't care.
Is he my son? Las Bandidas.
Got to stay true to the things you know are right.
That's the reggae music. Still I tell me say them want more. Make them take away everything and left with them and so people.
Worry, we no worry about them. We
So I'm seeing here, this is Gerald is saying, interesting conversation that right there on KBC, loving the show. This is Austin. Austin is saying, I am interested in supporting street families also. How can I be part of this? Yeah, we will engage in that. Right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. This is Mary. Mary is saying, loving the show right here. Thank you so much, Ram, for that particular conversation. It is inspiring to see how our sisters are transforming lives. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. This is the hashtag, as always, is Good Morning Kenya. Keep talking to us, okay? At Ram Maguko, which is my handle. And at KBC Channel 1, the official station handle. Let's talk about giving hope to the hopeless. And as I asked before, what are you doing to give life to that person that is in the streets of Nairobi? Now, sisters, we were talking about now the process. Now, day one has started. And I love how this conversation is going.
Yes.
Very progressive. Day one at the center, you have a ritual.
Yes.
Out with the old,
yes.
In with the new.
Yes.
You burn those clothes,
yes.
That they came in with, and you give them new clothes.
Yes.
How is the rehabilitation process within the center? Give me just a small picture of how it starts after day one. Yes.
After day one, we normally have a lot of exercises which we do every day, so that the things they have used from the street, like the drugs, it may help in detoxifying. And we give them a lot of water and a lot of fruits and sugar cane, so that the chemicals or the drugs they have been using, it may at least come down from them. After that, we normally have home tracing, medical checkup. We take them for after 1 week, we take them for medical checkup, so that we may know their status or the condition, their health condition.
Yeah. After a week of staying there?
Because these children, remember, they were on the streets, and some of them are abused. You know, being on the streets, it's not the, it's very tough for girls.
Right.
And some of them have been abused, some of them have been infected with HIV, some of them they are traumatized, some of them are, you know, it really has an impact, and a big impact on the girl child.
Wow.
So what we do, we take them for overhaul medical checkup, and to know how they are and their state. And you find that in a group of 20, I think 15 of them have already been abused.
So where does counseling come in this whole rehabilitation process?
As we continue with this, remember, they say for 21 days you adapt a character. If Ram, you want to change your walking style, you have to do it every day for 21 days. Yes. By the time you get to 21 days, you'll have changed your walking style. So for us, we do it for 21 days. Exercise, drinking water. Exercise, apart from the medical checkup, which is very important. They take a lot of water, exercise, and everybody in the center knows that it's time for exercise. It's a time now they are adapting a new character.
The exercise done in the morning? Or
from morning, yes. They wake up in the morning, they go for games. We have different games. We have running, we have football, we have all that. And then they also take a lot of water. So with that, that aspect of detoxification. And then, you know, they will also be very tired. Remember, these are children who are using drugs. So how do we imagine you've just picked them from the streets, and in the first days, there is that wanting to go back to the streets because they were used to taking drugs. Now here at the center, they are not taking drugs.
So have you ever had an instance of hostility from these children?
Yes, but most of the time you find the way they become hostile because of when they're in the street they were using drugs. So when they reach back to the center, they are not using drugs. And if you have not engaged them well, with exercise and doing so many activities during the day, in the evening they will be, during evening hours, they will be thinking about drugs. And this will make them to be hostile.
Yeah.
So that is why we are saying we must do exercise, vigorous exercise throughout the day.
And we're also very patient with them.
Yeah.
Because remember this, they were using a very bad language. So
Yes.
they still come with that to the center. They are still very harsh on each other even.
And do they insult sisters?
Yes, they do. They do. But we are very kind.
They fight?
They don't fight. Girls are not, but boys, yes. But girls, they really fight. But you can see even the way they talk. You are going to slap you. You know, the way, because remember, these are people who are, children who are using drugs. So there's, again, that withdrawal syndrome, whereby they feel bad because they have not used drugs. They have even attempted to run away. So by the time they get, our center is far. By the time they get to the road, we are there with them. So we bring them back. We bring them back to the center. So they are like, they really want to go back to the streets. They want still to use drugs, but we keep moving with them. We keep encouraging them. We keep telling them, you can make it, you can make it.
I love what you're saying, Sister Ngatia. Yes, okay, it's okay. Run away.
Yes.
But by the time you get to the road.
Yes, I'm there with you. And then we bring you back.
So the center is located at what particular place?
Komarok. It is in Komarok. Machakos County, yes.
County.
It is in Komarok. Those who know Komarok Shrine, from Komarok Shrine, it's 2 kilometers on your way to Tala.
On your way to Tala?
Yes.
This is in Machakos
and
County.
And surprisingly, Machakos, we don't have street children. So we rescue them from Nairobi and bring them to Machakos.
You don't have street children in Machakos County?
No. When they identified, they are arrested. But then we have street children in Nairobi who belong to Machakos County, yes.
Toroka. I love the confidence in you. I love the confidence. Now, let me get this picture also as part of the rehabilitation process. There are those kids that have been traumatized. What they went through while they were on the streets has given them a picture of what a man is and what a woman is, and this picture is distorted. How do you rehabilitate the mind into believing that my neighbor will not mistreat me and will not mishandle me? How do we rehabilitate those who have gone through, trauma, and give them a sense of sanity while at the center? Dr. Ngatia. Sister Ngatia. Hey, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
These children, while they are on the streets, it's really tough for them. It's really harsh for them. But when they come to the center, we start off with counseling. We do a lot of counseling for them, and we do a lot of empowerment. Every time you come to the center, we have trained them. We have a culture where we all come and they hug each other. So when you get to the center, they come running to hug you.
You have a culture of hugging?
Hugging, yes. Embracing them with a lot of love and showing them that all is well, that your history is not your destiny. Where you are from is not where you are going. You have a very bright future. And we have counteracted that with a very beautiful home. You come to Dorothea, they sleep very well, they eat very well, and that counteracts the harshness of street life.
So when Sister Ngatia enters the center,
they come running. Yes, you hug them. Yes, every time this sister likes saying, tunapate hug moto moto, hug moto moto, and it is in them that they must come. They hug us. We must embrace them and tell them all is well. They must live in a better environment.
But there are those who will, when they see their fellows running to hug, they sit back.
But with the time, you see, they adapt. Remember, these are children who adapt very fast. And when you empower them, you keep empowering them and telling them, empower them socially, you empower them emotionally, and tell them that all is well, all is well. And with that, and you see now children forget also very easily. They forget, because of the environment where they are staying in a very good environment. So with that, it has helped them kind of change and adapt very fast.
All right.
Yes, but still they remember that. And then the group counseling, they come together and share as a group. I mean, they share, and to see, I'm not the only one. Even this one was abused. Even, they kind of share. That sharing and showing them that all is well. All is well.
Wow.
Yes.
And during this process of rehabilitation while they're at the center, how do you manage the student sister interaction, student institution interaction? Because you've mentioned that they have their own leadership, they have their own presidency, they have their own government. Now, how do you ensure that there is cohesion between or understanding between you and this big multitude, regardless of that one-on-one interaction? Of course, we have also a particular leadership that is also there. Yeah, how do you build it? Sister.
Okay, what we do, we empower, we guide them.
Yes.
They don't know most of what is expected of them. Like now, a leader who says, for me, I'm a minister of environment. And then I ask her, as a minister of environment, what do you do? Say, I make sure beds are well spread. I make sure that they have not littered. You see, now this person is going hand in hand with a social worker. They are guiding them, and they know. And then, like now, as you were coming, I was asking her, we are with her here, that as a minister of environment, if these people don't follow, what do you do? She says, I write them down, and then when the book is full, I take to our teacher. And then he will be able to correct them, you see. So it's like we go hand in hand with them.
All right.
Yes.
Now let's talk about resocialization. You mentioned that as a part of this whole process.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Resocialization. How do you now bring them back into the society to mingle with the rest? Is that process still there?
Yes.
Yeah? Tell me about it.
It is called reintegration.
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 All right.
Yeah. We normally go after home tracing. We identify the family of the child.
Pause there.
Yeah.
Home tracing.
Yeah.
Yes. We must do home tracing. These street children you see, they all have families. Whether the mother is on the streets, whether it's they all have families.
I thought you could have done that before you took them to the rescue center.
No. How? You can't. They not even accept. So when you rescue them, bring them to the center.
Okay.
Now we tell them now it's time for going for home tracing. And you know what we even do? We make sure we buy them something nice, cheap, soda. So they are looking forward to going for home tracing because of what you buy for them. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Home tracing.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
How do you manage to do that? Maybe their parent could be in Turkana County.
They know their homes.
They know their homes.
Like now you have one girl who is from Uganda.
Uganda?
Yes.
She came
all the way to Nairobi.
To Nairobi?
Yes.
I wonder how. All right. Proceed.
After home tracing, we identify the child. Then there is that process of at least the parent, after that, before that, we were saying that the parent must know that we have their children or their child, her child. So after that, we normally, after engaging the parents and the child and knowing the place, we, for example, you can get the parents is not able to reunite with the child because there are some push factor that make the child go back to the street.
Yes.
Yeah. So unaweza pata the domestic violence. The domestic violence, we engage the parents, we talk to them through counseling process, we take them to the center. After that, they know that we talk to them, we know that they must know that their children, we will be taking them back home.
So you also counsel the parents?
Yes. We also engage the parents also.
Because of resistance. Remember, these parents would want their children to remain in the center because they don't want to take up any responsibility. So what we do when we rescue them, we journey with the parent because eventually this child will be reintegrated. But what we do, we support their education. Despite that we are returning this child back to the society, we empower this child, we take this child to school, we educate this child all the way to university.
I wonder, what kind of a parent would reject their own child and tell them,
No.
But wewe baki na huyo mtoto.
They even tell you, sister, hata huyu mwenye ako kwa mgongo nakuletea. Hata huyu nakuletea. Hata huyu mwenye atazaliwa bado nitakuletea. So they don't, and in fact, even like when you keep insisting that these parents must take up responsibility, and then you tell this child, please accompany your mom. When they get to the gate, the mother picks a stone and hits this girl and tells her, go back to the center.
What do you do when that happens?
No, we take back the child. Yeah. This child must be safe.
So you stay with the child for life now?
No. We also get foster parents. You see, these children must grow in a family setup. So sometimes what we do, we network with the parents. Like now we have 16 of our girls that are in Nakuru, St. Cecilia Academy. So we have partnered with the parents from that community. So over the holidays, these foster parents pick them and stay with them. They don't come back to the center as we work with their biological parents. So what we do, we get those foster parents to stay with them while we are working with the biological parents.
Wow. What about parents in Nairobi? Do you have?
Yes, we also have foster parents in Nairobi. So many of them. You know, Kenyans are very kind. One thing that I've come to realize, Kenyans, they are very kind. The people would want to help. They would want to go out of their way. That home, I can tell you, Mr. Ram, it has been supported by Christians. You know, when I moved from Kwetu to start this other new home, all that was there was just a plain ground, just a bare land with the rocks, and there was nothing. And I said, now with this, what do I do? So we started going around to churches. And you know what? They are brothers, those that we have supported. You know, there is a trust, it's called Nyadhali of Hope. It's a foundation that takes care of their school fees, those that are already in post-primary. So with this, those that we are supporting, they said, Ma'am, we will appeal people to support you build a home for girls. So we started going out to churches. I went to this church, to this other one, to this one, and then Christians were contributing. And that is why I was able to get whatever I got. I was able to put up this home for their sisters. So the brothers were appealing, asking Kenyans, kindly support Mom to build a home for our sisters. And people gave.
But doesn't that also affect you as sisters, as those who take care of these children? You've done your best for a very long time. You've paid for their medical bills. You've facilitated for their well-being while at the center. Only for you to be rejected at the gate of this child's parents.
But it is a calling. We are called for that, Ram. We are called for that.
Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it is a call.
Yes,
it's a calling.
Yes, even we've been sent away. We've even gone to beg and we are sent away.
You don't get angry?
We don't.
We sometimes even cry. We go to the car and cry, but you say, I have to move. I have to keep going for the sake of those street girls. We've been even sent away, but we say, I have to do it because of those girls. They look up to us. So we cannot give up. We cannot. Giving up is not on our end. We must keep working. We must because of them. They give us hope.
It has never crossed your mind to even just say, you know what, I'm done.
No,
I'm done.
It's a calling. It's really a calling. Sometimes people think that sisters, that maybe these people don't know what they are doing. We left all that. We were not married. We don't have families. And we have come to embrace religious life. And now we are taking care of street children. Why don't you go? And even there are those who have told us, sister, why don't you go and give your own child, and give birth to your own child? Why are you treating? And you go from one hospital to another. A doctor tells you the reason why you are not bringing this girl more often to this hospital is because you've not given birth. Yes, we've been told that, but we don't mind. We have to keep working for the sake of those girls.
Sister Dorothy,
yes.
How do you feel when such things happen?
Sometimes it is quite discouraging, but other times after that you go and pray, but you feel regained or renewed. From prayer, most of the time, we normally have that process, the experiences we have experienced throughout the day, we just take them to God, and at least you feel renewed. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I had a heart like yours.
No, but you
Wow.
know, eventually we'll all go to heaven.
Yeah.
And we want to go to heaven. We really want to, not for Shakahora anyway, but but we want to, you know, we are looking for burger points to heaven.
I love how you your interesting joke. So let me look at some of the challenges that you're facing. Of course, we've been mentioning them throughout the whole show. And one thing that I want to bring out, even as I ask this particular question, is funding. Finances.
Yeah.
You mentioned you take them for medical tests.
Yes.
How
we
do you
feed
get the
them,
money?
we
You feed
clothe them.
How do you get the money?
We do everything.
How do you get the money?
We become a beggar. You see, for them, they are on the streets begging. But when they come to the center,
Yeah, the one.
now he becomes the beggar.
The center is now begging.
Yeah.
No,
they're the
yes, now
ones
we beg
begging.
on their behalf.
Yeah.
We beg on their behalf. So that's basically what we do. We have to beg on their behalf. But we thank God that we have people of goodwill. You know, people really come out and they support us.
If someone wants to do so, how can they manage to do it?
They can get us. We have a till number. I have my number and sister's number, and we can give out.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Sister, talk about funding. How have you managed to go about it?
Funding, we normally go to different churches. We talk with the parish priest if he can allow us to give us the ground so that we may share our stories, that our children may get supported, because
yes,
most of the time we don't have we don't have so many international donors.
Yes,
we don't have so many donors, but people of goodwill, they have been helping us, and the government, they have been also journeying with us in this journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
The Trust Families, the Trust Family Rehabilitation Trust Fund. Yeah, it's a government arm. It supports us.
Now, you've mentioned government, and that's what leads me to the next question. What are those things that you feel the government needs to address? When we talk about removing children from the streets of Nairobi, rehabilitating them, and taking them back into the society, are there those loopholes that you see and you say, you know what, the government needs to address this particular matter?
Yeah, we didn't need to take a lot of funding to preventive measures.
Right.
Like now, this, you know, it is extreme poverty that makes these families end up going to the streets. So how can we help them? As a government, we should come in and take up that role of preventive measures. Try and support the trust fund so that they are also able to support us, because it is an arm that supports us. So that we are able to empower these parents. Remember, imagine like one parent, we got one parent from the streets, and she said, for me, I'm willing to come out of streets and I want to go to Kisii. She's from Kisii, and we have 2 of her daughters. She said, I'm willing to go back to the village, but I don't have a place to stay. So we have to go there and build a house. So for a house to be built, we need 150,000. So you see, for us, that is one of
That's only one case.
Yes. What about 50? We have 50 girls. So what about these 50? You see, we need a lot of funding for us to empower these parents.
Now tell me about the success stories you've managed to come across. Just something that will brighten up my day today.
Yes.
I've had so much to think of. Any success story?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is possible, and these success stories give us hope that even these girls will change. You can imagine rescuing a boy from the streets.
Yes.
You rehabilitate him and he gets a clean A and goes to do medicine and surgery.
Has that happened?
It has happened. We have one student at USIU University. He got an A-, and in fact, it is a scholarship. He got a free scholarship to do a pharmacy. He got a clean A-, and he is fully sponsored with a stipend. He gets even a stipend. We have students at Kenyatta University. We have students at doing nursing at Kasarani. We have so many of them. You can imagine having like 20 successful stories, 20 boys that are already transited from streets to getting better education. We also have those that we have supported that are now working from streets to becoming a high school teacher. and now has a family and has a child.
Powerful story there. You've given them hope.
Yes.
Giving hope to
And
the
all is
hopeless has been the
possible.
conversation today. Thank you so much, Sister Caroline. Sister Dorothy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And it is on that note that we bring this conversation to an
Our
end.
number.
Huh? Sorry?
And if you'd want to reach us, you
Oh,
can
to
reach us.
Okay, no
at-
problem.
Yes, if you'd want to reach us, you can get us on 0722 516 776.
Say that again.
0722 516 776.
Thank you so much. And it is on that note that we bring this conversation to a close. I know you've been touched by this. I know you've been touched. Pray about it. Do something about it. May God bless you. May God bless the work of your hands. My name is Ram Maguko. This is Good Morning Kenya.
After Tuchel's perfect debut, things got pretty rocky.
It was a very, very good match over 60, 65 minutes. Goal comes from out of absolutely nothing. This can happen, but we were not able to show a reaction. The problems are obvious on the pitch. We don't look fresh. We don't look excited. We don't look like with energy to come back if things do not go our way. Yeah, if you lose, you can, of course, lose top of the table.
The visitors know that they're potentially just 5 wins away from the title.